At the start of every live chat, I like to remind people that this case is about Abby and Libby and getting justice for them, and also for their families, and also for Richard Allen to get a fair trial, and for his family to finally find out the truth whether or not he was Bridge Guy. For anybody who's new, here's a quick overview about my chats. In the chat box, I put on slow mode for 15 seconds between messages to cut down on spam. All types of opinions are welcome. Just be polite, or moderators will ban anyone being rude or commenting negatively about people instead of chatting about facts about the case. Click the name of an annoying person in the chat to block them. Type the @ symbol plus the first few letters of someone's screen name to reply directly to that chatter, but your messages will be public. By typing the @ symbol, that person will see their name in orange in your message so they know it is directed at them. If I don't highlight your comment, it does not mean I disagree with or dislike you. I never see hundreds of comments, which is probably for the best. In the top of the chat box, it defaults to show top chat, but you can click that to change it to live chat to see every single comment. I try not to curse, but can't promise anything. I look through the chat and highlight comments that people might find interesting, but I do not highlight comments that have curses in them. Some of the initials I use in my PowerPoint slides are AB is Andrew Baldwin, the defense attorney. B/R is Baldwin and Rosie. LE is for law enforcement. MW is Mitch Westerman. NM is prosecutor Nick McClelland. And PP is the Purdue professor who provided an opinion on the Odinism angle. Some people do not follow every single thing that happens in this case, so I do these live chats where I summarize all the legal filings that happened over the prior week or so since my last live chat. There were a lot of filings this past week, and actually they started last Friday the 26th, but it was not released until this past Monday. I have about 30 PowerPoint slide summaries to review. State's objection to defendant's motion to suppress was 8 pages, filed by the prosecution. The summary is, on April 15th, the defense asked to exclude Rick's October 26, 2022 interview with Holman from the trial because Rick was not read his Miranda rights, according to the defense. Number 1, on October 26, 2022, Rick voluntarily went to Indiana State Police to talk about the return of his car, his 2016 Ford Focus, that they took on October 13th. He was asked to speak with Holman about the results of the search of his home, but he was free to leave. The interview room had 3 chairs and a desk, and the doors were not locked. Holman reminded Rick he had been advised of his Miranda rights on October 13th. What the Oh. I was like, Tom made a mistake? No, McClelland made the mistake. On October 13th, 2024, the last time he spoke with police. So I wrote here, McClelland wrote Rashad instead of, he forgot the second R in Richard twice instead of Richard. And he wrote October 2024 instead of October 2022 when Rick was interviewed. So I do call out mistakes by the defense, and I also call out mistakes by Slick Nick. Rick affirmed he understood his rights and sat down. The interview lasted approximately 60 minutes. Rick was given multiple breaks where Holman left, Rick used the restroom, Rick also smoked outside, and returned to speak to Holman. At no time did he get up to leave or display signs of distress or undue influence. He sat through the entire conversation, even after saying he was done talking. I added here, why did the defense in their filing say it was 2 hours and 41 minutes, and McClelland said this interview was only 60 minutes? McClelland said, not all law enforcement interviews are considered custodial interrogations, which is when the person's freedom of movement must be so curtailed that the person is under the same inherent coercive pressures as those at issue in the case Miranda versus Arizona, when the restriction of movement is at a level akin to an arrest. Simply because a person is questioned in a police station does not mean the interview is a custodial interrogation. Miranda warnings are required only in situations where the encounter is a custodial interrogation. Number 3, if the interview is custodial, the court must determine whether or not the confession was voluntary. I wrote, what did Rick confess to on October 26, 2022? How will the defense explain this away if Rick was not under the mental stress of prison? Is this why the defense wants this interview excluded? From the quotes that the defense included, it seemed to me like Rick was innocent and did not say anything pointing towards a confession. Stay tuned. Number 4, a confession is voluntary if it was the product of a rational intellect and not the result of physical abuse, psychological intimidation, or deceptive interrogation tactics that have overcome the defendant's free will. It does not matter if the statement was true or false, only whether the statement was the result of coercive government influence. Number 5, that fact that there was police deception or part of the interview is not recorded does not render the statement inadmissible. The Indiana Supreme Court ruled police deception does not automatically render a confession inadmissible, and an advisement of rights is not part of the interrogation and need not be part of the video recording. Which, if you remember, the defense said the first part of this recording is missing. Number 6, the interview by Holman was not a custodial interrogation that required Miranda advisement of rights. Rick arrived in his own vehicle with his wife and voluntarily sat down with Holman, who asked Rick if he remembered his Miranda rights that other detectives read him 13 days prior, and he said yes. Holman documented this advisement, and it was also observed by Detective Vito. In my summaries from last week, I said there seems to be some kind of rule. If law enforcement reads somebody their rights, there is a 14-day period where law enforcement might be covered by that initial statement. Number 7, Rick's statements were voluntary. Even in the midst of saying, "I'm done" or "I'm done talking," the totality of the circumstances would lead to a conclusion that not only was the interview non-custodial, but the statements were voluntary and not the result of coercion. 8, Rick's demeanor was of a person not under undue influence or coercion. When Holman raised his voice and made accusations, Rick remained calmly seated, answered questions, and did not leave or express a desire to leave. I wrote, saying, quote unquote, "I'm done," expressed a desire to leave. I mean, he wants to get out of there. McClelland stated, Rick was aware of his rights because at one point he told his wife that requesting an attorney would terminate the interview. Number 9, even if this encounter was determined to be a custodial interrogation, the Miranda advisement was given and sufficient to advise Rick of his rights. 10, the facts in this case are different from the facts of the case example presented by the defense when the court emphasized the difficult path the defendant would have to walk if he chose to leave the interview. Rick's exit involved a short walk, based on the layout of the police station. The ER court, which is this other case the defense referenced, emphasized the impact of having 2 officers present, and Rick only dealt with Holman. Numbers 11 through 13 were kind of long, so I tried to do my best to summarize them as short as possible. So numbers 11 to 13, McClelland referenced other cases that proved his points. 1, a court determined that given the casual atmosphere, exploratory and conversational line of questioning, and relatively unimpeded pathway to the room, the totality of circumstances were not indicative of a custodial interrogation requiring Miranda. 2, a suspect stated, quote, "I don't have nothing to say," end quote. Somebody needs to go back to school. The detective pushed... I don't have anything to say. The detective pushed her to explain or tell the truth. The court deemed her statements did not unequivocally invoke her right to remain silent. Well, with that grammar, she should keep her mouth shut. I need to stop with my sarcastic comments. The final point by McClelland. Rick remained in the interview voluntarily, was not under arrest or restricted in movement, was afforded multiple breaks, continued to engage even after expressing, quote unquote, "I'm done," without coercion or undue influence. Therefore, his statements, whether true or false, were voluntary and therefore admissible based on the totality of the circumstances. So why, on October 26th, with his wife waiting outside, would he be making false confessions or statements? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Or will we? Will Judge Gull not allow the October 26th interview to be played at the trial? The next motion was Monday, April 29th. Motion in limine was 4 pages filed at 12:09 a.m. Some people, including me, criticized Nick McClelland when he asked for a $5,000 raise, but homeboy's working past midnight, so enjoy the extra cash. It was filed by McClelland, the prosecutor. This term here, VOIRDIRE, I looked it up, and there's 2 different ways to pronounce it. Voir dire or voir dire. The basic definition is when jurors are examined and selected before the trial starts. McClelland requested Gull require the defense to refrain from mentioning the following during the trial. 1, any comments about counsel for the state that constitutes a personal attack. So no calling him Slick Nick. 2, any comment which constitutes the personal opinion of the defense about evidence, witnesses, outcome, or penalty. For instance, The defense cannot vouch for the truthfulness or competency of any of the state's witnesses, including police officers or any of his own witnesses. I added here, what about McClelland a few filings ago wanting to discuss Todd Click's history? Todd Click was the Rushville police officer who looked into the odiness. Number 3, any innuendo or inference that is not supported by admissible evidence. 4, any attempt to indoctrinate the jury during voir dire by exposing the jury to substantive issues in the case. 5, any attempt during voir dire to have the jury prejudge the credibility of a witness. 6, any hypothetical questions that include facts not in evidence or questions that aren't helpful in violation of Rule 705. I didn't bother looking at what Rule 705 means. These summaries are free. Number 7, any attempt to introduce evidence of third-party motive that is not relevant or has the potential to mislead the jury. The defense must show some connection between the third party and the crime based on admissible evidence and not founded in hearsay, speculation, rumors, conjecture, or theory, including but not limited to the following: Odinism or cult or ritualistic killing. Then he wrote out all 6 of the accused Odinist names: Kegan Kline and his dad, or Ron Logan. 8, any reference to an investigation conducted by Click that is not relevant or is used for the purpose of confusing the issues or may mislead the jury. 9, any reference to geofencing or testimony from Kevin Horan about geofencing that is not relevant or is for the purpose of confusing or may mislead the jury. The defense must show why it is relevant. I added Kevin Horan was a special agent on the FBI CAST team who interpreted the geofence data. 10, any reference to any prior bad acts of witnesses that is not relevant to what Rick is on trial for. I added, isn't McClelland trying to find out if Todd Click had prior bad acts that would make him an untrustworthy witness? Which state witnesses have a bad history? 11, any reference to how the files handed over to the defense were labeled. 12, any reference to PowerPoints that were executive briefs, I guess given out every morning to the officers investigating the case, involving anyone that was investigated that are not relevant. This seems to be about the Odinist E.F., who supposedly is the guy who made incriminating statements to his 2 sisters saying he was at the bridge during the time of the killings. Also on April 29th, an email requesting Judge Gull allow cameras. This was filed by Judge Gull. The summary was, a law student stated her case about the benefits of cameras in the court. Judge Gull had her arrested and she's now in prison. I'm kidding. That student tried it, Judge Gull denied it. April 29th, courthouse management and decorum order for jury selection May 13th to the 16th of this year, 3 pages. So it seems like Gull is expecting jury selection to actually last 4 days instead of 3. This was just overall rules for the people attending. Be on your best behavior, people. Also April 29th, appearance filed by the defense. On March 27th, I have to pronounce her name. I don't know how she pronounces her name, so Miss Jennifer, who is now a member of the defense daddy, so I guess she's the defense mommy, filed a limited appearance for digital forensic issues, conducting discovery, depositions, and courtroom examinations. It seems like this most recent form may have expanded her role to help Baldwin and Rosie fully prepare for the trial. This is kind of working backwards. On Sunday, April 28th, Judge Gull emailed the defense and prosecution, which was a reply to questions they had sent her. She said none of them objected to the May 13th to 31st length of the trial. That is the length of the trial, not, quote, more or less, end quote. She has tried death penalty and life without parole cases in the same amount of time, all with multiple victims. The defense is claiming it will take a couple of weeks to present its case. Quote from Judge Gull, I am quite familiar with the law regarding third-party perpetrators, and unless the defense can provide a nexus, which means connection, between any alleged third-party perpetrators and the charged crimes, those allegations are unsupported and will be inadmissible. Please be prepared to present your cases timely and have your witnesses available quickly and promptly. I look with disfavor on counsel attempting to manipulate the presentation of evidence by timing witnesses poorly. That conduct will not be permitted. The jurors' time is valuable, especially since they are sequestered and away from their homes, families, and jobs. Please respect the sacrifice the jurors are making, end quote. Honestly, I'm sure some of these jurors are like, get me away from my family and my job for 3 weeks. I'll even do a month. Tuesday, April 30th, motion for pretrial hearing, 5 pages filed by the defense. My summary is they want to address scheduling and other procedural matters after they receive that email from Judge Gall. On March 6, the defense had a motion for early trial filed without any kind of reference to the length of the trial, and Gall set it for May 13th to the 31st. Between March 7th and April 25th, there were no instructions from Gall about procedures for the trial. On April 25th, Rosie emailed Gall about where Rick will stay during the trial, a place the defense can store their trial materials, and a place to meet Rick in private. On April 28th, Gall said she had no flexibility for the trial length, and she didn't know how many witnesses the prosecution will call or how long it would take either side to present. The defense plans to present, quote, exculpatory evidence tending to show that Richard Allen is not guilty of the crimes for which he has been charged, end quote. I added, why does the defense repeatedly write, quote unquote, tending to show Rick isn't guilty, instead of showing Rick isn't guilty? The same filing continued. Previous filings indicated the state will present 118 witnesses and 93 exhibits. The defense will have more than 71 witnesses. Gall is, quote, unaware of the details regarding these lists, as the parties have filed only notices with the court, memorializing the exchange of such lists with each other, end quote, aka just between the defense and prosecution, partially to protect privacy of witnesses. Rick may be transferred from the trial to where he's staying each day, up to 90 minutes each way. Gall confirmed this in an email April 29th, 2023, although Rosie, it should have been 2024. Gall has denied almost every pretrial challenge by the defense, so they will be required to introduce evidence by way of offers to prove in the absence of the jury, which will cause more delays. They referenced general rules on lengths of trials, essentially saying Gall should not limit the trial to May 13th to the 31st. The state could use the entire 2.5 weeks, leaving the defense with hardly any time or for rebuttals. Gall's rigid schedule infringes upon Rick's Sixth Amendment rights, so the defense wants a scheduling hearing. Baldwin and Rosie's removal from October to January resulted in the creation of additional discovery, which will require more time to present Rick's defense. Judge Gall did approve this, and it's happening Tuesday, May 7th. April 29th, defendant's fourth Franks motion based on newly discovered evidence and request for hearing, 8 pages filed by the defense. As soon as I saw this headline, fourth Franks motion, I said, again? Just a reminder, this is my summary of what a Franks hearing is all about. The defense must show Tony Liggett intentionally or recklessly omitted facts or provided false statements in the affidavit to search Rick's house on October 13th. If those false statements were not included in the affidavit for search warrant, would Judge Diener still have approved the search of Rick's home and car? In my opinion, if those certain items were removed, there still was enough to search Rick's house. And it seems like all this other stuff from the first Franks memo and 2, 3, and 4 have nothing to do with what a Franks hearing requires. But what do I know? April 26, 2024. McClelland gave documents to the defense as a result of their April 23rd motion to compel, which included an incident report by Steve Mullen, who was the former Delphi Police Department chief and is a current investigator for McClelland's prosecutor office. So that report showed that Mullen contacted a guy from Indiana State Police at 9 p.m. on the day the girls went missing, February 13th, 2017, and these two officers were talking back and forth until 1 a.m. on February 14th, trying to get location information for Libby's cell phone. This is a summary of their conversation. AT&T data showed the last contact with Libby's phone and a tower at Wells Street in Delphi was at 5:44 p.m. Just a reminder, around 5:30 is when the family called police. The AT&T info indicated Libby's phone was no longer in the area or not in working condition. I did some research on the internet, aka Googled. Here's the center of Delphi, like CVS and Carroll County Sheriff's Office, and up here is Wells Street. And so I found this website that has cell phone towers, and I believe I should only have selected extended GSM. And so down in the right here is the crime scene. Here is the Wells Street Tower. I did another search, and there is another dot up here across from Ron Logan's house, and there is another cell tower there. So here's North Wells Street, and you can see this is the tower. On November 9th, 2023, which was almost a year after Baldwin and Rosie became Rick's attorneys, McClelland gave the defense evidence of 44 pings by AT&T to locate Libby's cell phone. Some of this gets kind of confusing, and the defense did not really do a great job of explaining what their points are. There were pings at 5:48 and 7:16 p.m. The defense did not learn of the additional pings until April 26, 2024, and they still don't, quote, have the additional pings from February 13th, 2017, or the early morning of February 14th, end quote. Also on February 14th, 2017, the day the girls were found, the first ping sent to Libby's phone was at 5:39 a.m. I wrote, "This is not clear. It seems like the report is referencing pings initiated by AT&T, but does not state that Libby's phone responded to any of them after 5:44 p.m. So I thought, what does this have to do with the search of Rick's house for the Franks request? There was enough evidence to execute it, and the defense keeps bringing up irrelevant points and wasting trial prep time trying to get everything thrown out from Rick's house and his car, instead of proving Rick was home at 2:13 p.m. I understand that the defense does not have to prove that Rick is innocent. The state has to prove he's guilty. But it seems like the defense is wasting their time on certain things. So the Indiana State Police officer's interpretation of the AT&T information indicated the phone was no longer in the area or no longer in working condition, which are two totally different things. One, no longer in the area means the bodies or the phone went away and then came back. No longer in working condition means the battery ran out or there's some kind of power issue or some kind of connection issue. The defense says the prosecution's entire case rests on the idea Libby and Abby were on or near the south side of Monon High Bridge at 2:13 p.m., and Rick killed them between that time and when a witness saw a man in blue jeans and a black jacket on 300 North at 3:57 p.m. So Abby and Libby were between Monon High Bridge and the crime scene until they were found around 12:15 p.m. on February 14th, when Libby's phone was under Libby's sneaker, which was under Abby's body. The defense pointed out the police officer's statement that Libby's phone was not in the area or was not in working condition. The defense continued, if the prosecution's timeline is accurate, there is no way Libby's phone could have been out of the area / not in working condition between 9 p.m. on February 13th and 1 a.m. on February 14th because the phone was on and communicating with the cell tower at 4:33 a.m. on February 14th. So what's up with the phone working at 4:33 a.m.? The defense continued, the prosecution's timeline needs the phone to be in the same condition prior to 3:57 p.m. on February 13th until the bodies were found. At the time of Rick's search warrant, Indiana State Police was aware the last ping of Libby's phone was not 5:44 p.m., but 4:33 a.m. on the 14th. It is evident the phone was accessed and connected with the tower at 4:33 a.m. on February 14th. After this part, the defense wrote some kind of imaginary text that they think Tony Liggett should have submitted in the search warrant for Rick's house, including the following. There were sticks and branches which appeared to have been deliberately placed on the bodies. FBI agent Robertson stated in the Ron Logan search warrant, the bodies appeared to have been moved and staged. Abby was dating the Odinist B.H.'s son. Holman consulted the Purdue professor who wrote that the branches constitute an inscription inspired by Norse runes or modern recreations thereof is quite plausible. The Odinist B.H. belonged to a group practicing Nordic pagan beliefs. So I added, what do all of those facts have to do with evidence to get a search warrant for Rick's home? Like a car resembling his headed towards CPS at 1:27 p.m., and the possibility that there was no group of 3 girls at the start of the trails around noon like Rick said. The facts that the defense wrote have nothing to do with the police trying to get more information about what Rick was up to, not all these other people. The defense continued with things that they thought Liggett should have put in the search warrant for Rick, including about BH posted pics on Facebook mimicking the crime scene. Abby and Libby were killed after 2:13 and before 3:57 on February 13th. During that time, 3 phones were in the area the girls were last seen and the location they were found, but they did not belong to Rick. Well, if the defense knows who they are, wouldn't they be naming them if they belong to the Odinists? Between February 13th and 14th, AT&T pinged Libby's cell phone every 15 minutes. The last ping to her phone is 5:44 p.m., and the time of the first ping on February 14th was 4:33 a.m. Indiana State Police believed her phone was out of the area of the Wells Street Tower or not working between 5:44 p.m. and 4:33 a.m., which was the last successful ping. These omissions are so voluminous and significant, there is no explanation for their omission other than reckless disregard for the truth, and the search warrant would have been denied if Liggett included that information that the defense just talked about. I disagree. The defense wants a hearing to, quote, exclude all of the evidence seized as a result of the search of Richard Allen's home, end quote. I wrote, the defense ignores so many other facts. If Rick is innocent and there's no evidence showing he was at the trail after 1:30, why is the defense trying to hide everything? Why is Rick saying incriminating statements to 30 people or so? Can't Libby's phone data show when the battery ran out on February 13th or 14th, and if it was used or moving after 2:30 p.m.? I think there should be more insightful information and data in Libby's phone instead of just referencing cell phone tower pings. Next filing, April 29th. Accused replied to the state's response, they forgot an S, to motion to compel and sanctions and request for the state of Indiana to be further sanctioned for providing false information in its response. This was 8 pages. Filed by the defense, and the summary is, the first section was belated disclosure of Todd Click letter and evidence. Number 1, McClelland pled he did not delay in turning over evidence from Todd Click. This assertion is false. 2, the Franks memo included Click's letter stamped, quote, received May 1st, 2023, Carroll County Prosecutor, end quote. But McClelland did not disclose the letter for 4 months and 4 days. 3, Click's documents show that he, Ferenczi, and Murphy believed third-party suspects were involved, and the evidence against Rick was not as compelling as evidence against the Odinists. 4, Click hired a lawyer to draft a letter to alert McClelland. 5, it is hard to imagine a more exculpatory letter than an investigator details that he and 2 others believed the prosecution may have accused the wrong man. Click's fearlessness also involved hiring a lawyer to steer the prosecution toward the actual killers and away from possible injustice against an innocent man. 6, Click wanted to ensure McClelland received all the evidence that should be turned over to the defense. But McClelland failed to retrieve the evidence from Click until approximately August 30th, 2023, after he realized the defense learned of the third-party suspects through other documents. So when did the defense get those other documents? 7, the evidence the prosecution failed to retrieve for 4 months included interviews of Odinists. 8, McClelland gave these to Baldwin and Rosie on September 8th, 2023. 9, there were many exculpatory statements made by witnesses in these interviews, including evidence that connected EF, RA, and NS, all of whom resided in or near Rushville, to BH in the Logansport, Delphi area. These are all the Odinist initials. 10, this evidence was not known by the defense for nearly 9 months later than required by rule, and over 4 months after McClelland got it. 11, thank you to somebody named Sinbad Sailor. Judge Diener signed some kind of omnibus document, and it said the discovery evidence is due to each party 15 days before the trial. But I do agree with the defense that some of this stuff took way too long to be turned over. I also agree with the defense on this next point, 11. Because of late discovery, the defense was denied the ability to conduct its investigation in a more efficient manner and focus on third-party suspects, thereby putting the defense behind where it would have been if the state complied with the rules. Now I'm confused because I just said that thing about the omnibus and having to turn over discovery 15 days before the trial. However, the Carroll County local rules state that the prosecution has to turn over all of their discovery 30 days after Baldwin and Rosie were assigned, paging a lawyer from Indiana to clarify. Thank you. 12. On April 29th, 2024, the prosecution filed a motion requesting Gull limit or deny the defense's ability to present evidence of third-party suspects. 13. The defense believes this further supports its contention the prosecution was attempting to conceal evidence of third-party suspects throughout the case, including the identity of a Purdue professor in a September 6, 2023 email, as well as the Click material. 14. Rick requests the prosecution be sanctioned for not turning this exculpatory evidence over and for falsely claiming that the prosecution, quote, did not delay in turning over evidence from Todd Click, end quote. The next section was email concerning Purdue professor. Number 15. McClelland stated he did not mislead or lie to the defense in an email. This is false. 16. McClelland's September 6, 2023 email failed to disclose he already had the Purdue report for over 2 weeks and did not give that exculpatory document to Baldwin and Rosie until October 4th, 2023, and only upon request of the defense. 17. Apparently, McClelland believes he can simply make an assertion without facts, arguments, or supportive documentation, and that will be enough for Gull to ignore the defense's request McClelland be sanctioned for providing false and misleading information. 18. The defense is requesting Gull order McClelland to explain why he provided false information and misled the defense and also to be sanctioned. The next section was outstanding discovery. Number 19. The defense rejects McClelland's assertion, quote, all the information minus the standard operating procedures and the chain of custody documents was already in the possession of the defense, end quote. 20. On April 26, 2024, McClelland turned over documents including an exculpatory piece of evidence about phone pings in a report from August 23, 2017. 21. Baldwin and Rosie asked multiple times for McClelland to turn over phone reports like geofencing and pings, and he told the defense no such reports exist. That ain't cool. 22. The exculpatory report, received 17 days before trial, provides evidence the victims were not at the crime scene on February 13th. Tom. Yes. Where does it show they were, aka where were Abby and Libby? The other defense filing indicates the phone pinged at 4:33 a.m. on February 14th, but did not state where Libby's phone was or more specific details. 23. McClelland claimed they turned over all evidence and, quote, has no idea why the defense cannot locate the documents, end quote. 24. The defense posits this question. If it is complicated and time-consuming for McClelland to dive into 26 terabytes of the state's information, then how can the prosecution expect the defense to locate the items without assistance? The defense did not organize the discovery. The prosecution did during the defense's first tenure and then reorganized it for the defense's second tenure. There seems to be some kind of debate about how much responsibility a defense attorney has to organize discovery evidence as they receive it from the prosecution. 25. The defense only reached out after several hours searching the state's convoluted, disorganized, and often untimely discovery dumps. 26. With experience of over 70 years, Mr. Allen's attorneys have never experienced a situation where the prosecution has created such significant barriers to locating evidence while misleading the defense about the existence of evidence. Yeah, they have 70 years of experience, but they're still incorrectly adding an apostrophe to the Franks hearing and still triggering me. So finally, the defense wants Gull to do the following four things. Sanction the prosecution as requested in its motion to compel and motion for sanctions. Sanction the prosecution for providing false information in its response. Order the prosecution to provide an itemized list of all documents, videos, recordings, and other evidence provided to the defense and the location of each item. So all 26 terabytes, they want an itemized list of everything, which I thought investigator Steve Mullen said he was doing a spreadsheet as he turned it all over. And finally, order the prosecution to explain misleading and false representations contained in its September 6, 2023 email. On April 30th, motion for leave of court to subpoena third-party records from a company called ViaPath Technologies, filed by the prosecution. Even though it was 10 pages total, the summary is fairly basic. McClelland wants all of Rick's prison phone calls because he made statements the state will use at trial. McClelland and the defense had discussions about stipulating to the phone calls, but the defense has not stated whether they will stipulate or not. McClelland wants Go to approve the subpoena for the phone calls. Also on April 30th, defendant's response to state's motion in limine and request for hearing 4 pages filed by the defense. The summary is, number 1, on April 28th, Go emailed about legal and logistical matters and said, quote, unless the defense can provide a nexus between any alleged third-party perpetrators in the charged crimes, those allegations are unsupported and will be inadmissible at the trial, end quote. So the defense said the next day, McClelland accepted Gull's invitation to limit evidence regarding third-party perpetrators and filed his motion to prevent the defense talking about Otis and all these other people. 3. Gull has a pattern of denying defense motions despite evidentiary support. McClelland's motion in limine contains no supporting documents justifying limitations on the defense's ability to present evidence regarding third-party perpetrators. 4. The law requires, quote, some connection between the third-party perpetrator and the crime, end quote. The court must balance Rick's Sixth Amendment right to present a defense with the state's desire to limit such evidence. Number 5, the defense has spent the better part of a year conducting discovery, seeking out exculpatory evidence from the state, and developing theories to present to the jury. McClelland has not tried to limit this process or depositions of third-party perpetrators. 6, The defense will call up to 24 witnesses providing credible information regarding third-party perpetrators, which essentially I think is going to be about the onus. If next Tuesday, May 7th, at this hearing, Judge Gull denies the defense's ability to even talk about onus at Rick's trial, the trial will be reduced to unnecessary delays due to lengthy offers to prove and large gaps in scheduling witnesses. The absence of any articulated and reasoned legal guidance from Gull in advance of the trial would promote the lack of judicial economy throughout the proceedings. 7. The defense wants a full day hearing the week of May 6th to discuss the third-party perpetrator evidence. After this, the defense referenced in 12 different paragraphs where McClelland had previously tried to limit what the defense can say at the trial. The defense repeatedly stated McClelland's request did not contain facts or supporting documents and should be denied. On May 1st, defendant's motion for pretrial hearing and state's motion in limine set for hearing in Allen County Superior Court on May 7th at 9 a.m. by Judge Gull. There is no summary. That's essentially what it is. In another filing on May 1st, ruling on contempt by Baldwin Rosie filed by Judge Gull. The hearing for contempt by Baldwin Rosie was on March 18th, and Gull has since reviewed the evidence admitted at the hearing, but not evidence that was offered but not admitted. Gull said the state proved by a preponderance of the evidence that the defense was sloppy, negligent, and incompetent in their handling of discovery materials. They did the following: failed to properly secure evidence and discovery material, negligently allowed their discovery outline to be sent to Brandon Woodhouse, who disseminated it to the public, allowed their discovery materials to be compromised by Mitch Westerman, who provided it to the men Fortson and Cohen, who then sent it to other people. The defense also described Westerman both as a criminal and a valued consultant and confidant. The state is required to prove that counsel's conduct was willful and intentional beyond a reasonable doubt for Judge Gull to find counsel in contempt. As the state has not met that burden, Gull declined to find them in contempt for violating the protective order issued February 17, 2023, regarding discovery. Also, the state alleged the defense violated the gag order issued on December 2, 2022, but since their press release was on December 1st, the day before, Gull declined to find counsel in contempt in that matter. However, Gull will send a copy of this order and the press release to the Office of Judicial and Attorney Regulation for that office to enforce the rules or determine counsel's ethical misconduct. Also, May 1st, motion to enter stipulated protective order filed by the Indiana Department of Correction and the defense team. The summary is they want to request Judge Gull enter a protective order adopting its stipulations. A section with the background said on April 15th, 2024, about 2 weeks ago, the defense served a subpoena on Indiana Department of Corrections, which is in charge of the Westville and Wabash prisons where Rick has been, for employment information and agreed to narrow the request. Indiana Department of Correction seeks to comply and to protect itself from annoyance, embarrassment, oppression, or undue burden or expense. So the stipulations by Indiana Department of Corrections is they will give the defense information with redactions over employee personal information and contact information. Nothing in this agreement restricts a party's ability to disclose the information during the course of the trial. The final slide, May 3rd. There were a few different media requests. The summary was, Greeno tried it, Auntie Gull denied it. So this is a line from one of these court orders by Gull. Court has also received a camera in court request form request from Anthony Greeno True Crime Investigates, which is a YouTube channel, and declines to consider same as this is not a news media outlet covered by this code 344641. I copied and pasted this code below in case anybody wants to read it. Previously, Judge Gull has said YouTubers are not part of the media. First of all, I don't like being called a YouTuber, and I don't think I'm a journalist. However, some of my Delphi videos have thousands and tens of thousands, and some of them have over 100,000 views. I've seen a few videos from the local TV channels about Delphi, and they only have a few hundred. So I don't know that I would say that people who have YouTube channels are not providing information about this case that is less valuable than local TV stations. All right, that's it for the summaries. Now I'll get to your comments in the chat. Hi, everybody. from all around the world. Thank you for joining us always. First, thank you to Ivy Push for becoming a member, and also Emerald City. I know you've had like 3 different screen names over the past 6 months, but I appreciate you changing back to Emerald City and becoming a member. Also, Shelly, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. And also Janine Saint Germain, I appreciate you also. So I tried to reply to some of your comments as that video is going on. I'm already 40 minutes behind. So here we go. Mrs. E, hello. Have you guys seen those photos from the Wabash River search near Peru that one year, which was mid-August 2022 to mid-September 2022? Yeah, so Rick, according to the PCA, the earlier 2017 tip was handed over to, I'm concerned that you guys can't hear me. Hold on. I don't want to, all right, Emerald City said, I said his name, so, or their name, sorry. All right, here we go. Tom's discombobulated already. So the PCA said the tip, or they said the investigators reviewing prior tips came across Rick's 2017 interview with the conservation officer, and it was given to Liggett on September 21st. I know a lot of people have speculated how this all played out. There was a rumor that this Wabash River search was about the Kleins. Police did not find anything for 4 to 5 weeks. And Doug Carter said to police, start from scratch. And it seems like possibly that's what they did, and maybe looked back at the FBI Orion system, which handled all the tips. And as I've said previously, and you guys probably saw for yourself, the 74th tip was this Richard Allen tip from 2017. Although I've also referenced that number 48, I'm almost certain, was from February 16th. A phone call came into the command center. I believe it was 7:21 p.m. So we've all wondered, at what point did Rick either call the tip line, Delphi Police, or Carroll County Sheriff to say, I was there that day? Because if tip number 74 was February 16th at 7 p.m., why was Rick's 74th tip entered after that? Whatever. We'll see. I know some people are questioning, did Rick's daughter and son-in-law maybe tip them in after he said something? People are saying maybe Rick or his wife turned on one of these cell phones they found and it notified police. I'm not sure. I already need to have a drink. Oh, I have a new Taco Bell cup, everybody. That's good news. Today is Cinco de Mayo, only in America. Hold on. So Taco Bell, if you use the app, they had $5 for 5 tacos. So I went for brunch at 10 a.m. I had 5 crunchy tacos and a burrito. Continuing back to more important things. Yeah, so Mrs. E continued, what do you think the object was? Wasn't there talk of a small katana, or am I crazy? I think you're tripping. Are you having doobie? Anyway, there was a katana, I think it's spelled Kitana, not sure, which is, I think, some kind of weird looking knife, which they did, I'm almost certain that the items from Rick's house on October 13th had quite a few knives, and one may have been described as a katana. We'll see. Hi, Simone. Hi, Purdue and Mr. Purdue. What else do we have to talk about? Yeah, so Tuesday is a huge day in this case. What are they going to talk about? I think it's because McClelland wants to prevent the defense from talking about a lot of different stuff, including the Odinists and Ron Logan and Kegan Kline. If Judge Gall says, defense team, you have not proven to me that there is enough evidence to present these alternative, I'm pretty sure it's called third-party perpetrators, what is the defense going to do at the trial to try to take attention away from Rick being guilty? And if Judge Gall denies them that opportunity to bring up these other people, is the defense going to ask for a delay in the trial? Hi, Sinbad Sailor. Hi, Captain Howdy. Or I should say, howdy, Captain. Yeah, Ivy pushed. I mentioned that McClelland said this interview from October 26th between Holman and Rick was approximately 60 minutes, and the defense filing, like a week before, said it was 2 hours and 41 minutes. But obviously, we learned that Rick took a smoke break, talked to his wife, and so maybe the total like interaction time was around 60 minutes. But from what the defense released the previous week, I felt like Rick's answers to Holman indicated innocence or at least not guilt. So why is the defense trying to hide that interview from the jury? It seems like maybe because Rick said, yes, I have never, or no, I have never let anybody borrow my Sig Sauer gun, which the Indiana State Police are saying matched the unspent round found a few feet or inches from the bodies. Also, he said he was never on Ron Logan's property. So maybe the defense is concerned that if the jury hears from an expert saying this unspent round does match Richard Allen's gun, that the jury would be like, okay, he's guilty. So maybe the defense doesn't even want that to be presented. Rick saying that he never let anybody borrow that gun. Sorry, just looking for comments. Mrs. E, hello, my voice. What of the lack of cell phone when Rick said he was watching a stock? Yeah, this is going to be interesting to finally hear all this phone data for not just Rick, but other people on the trails that day. Also, is there any phone data showing that Odinus were there? Ron Logan, well, obviously Ron Logan in his search warrant from March 2017. At that point, the FBI was saying Ron was on the bridge or near it at 2:09 and whatever, some other time. I think that was only the only time they said he was near the bridge, but that night around maybe 8 p.m. and 10 p.m., they said he was near the crime scene. However, maybe 2 weeks ago, the prosecutor, McClelland, filed something saying that this phone data can be unreliable up to 5,000 feet. And also another, I don't want to say YouTuber because I don't like being called the YouTuber. Somebody who's a lot smarter than me and had a career in law enforcement. His name is Steve from True Crime Web. He went to the crime scene and parked at the cemetery, which I just saw this video. He did a live chat with Fig Solves a few days ago where he reviewed this PowerPoint slide or something presentation where he and his wife and Purdue, apparently they went at night and some of them were locked in the car at the crime scene because they were scared. I wouldn't blame them. And then this guy, Steve, walked through the woods from the cemetery to the crime scene and had his wife, I guess, use like the Find My iPhone app to see where it was showing Steve as he walked towards the crime scene from the cemetery in Delphi. And at certain points, it was fairly accurate. Sometimes it showed him in Deer Creek. However, like a minute or two later, it showed him up to 5 miles away. So we're going to have to wait for the trial to hear certain phone information. Also, did Rick own stocks? Why would he be looking at stocks? So stay tuned. Although I know somebody, I guess the prosecution filed to prevent some kind of geofence data being introduced to the jury, but I couldn't figure out exactly what that whole mess is about. Hi, Luna Blue. Yeah, so Rick worked for CVS, which is a large pharmacy all across the United States. So I would assume that he did have a 401k retirement plan. However, as I think DB Cooper, or not DB Cooper, sorry, that's two totally different people. DB Cooper has not been found. Pointed out, a stock is like if you own shares in a company. So Rick, in his 2017 discussion with the conservation officer, said, I was looking at stock, so I didn't see anybody else. Like, it seemed to me like he was kind of making an excuse. Like, I was looking at my phone at stocks, a stock ticker. And so that prevented me from seeing other people, which to me is kind of BS because that trail was so narrow in 2017. What is Tom trying to say? However, if you're looking at a stock ticker on your phone, on your iPhone, there's there's like a stock app. How many companies would he care about the stock price? And it's like 15 minutes from the entrance at Freedom Bridge to the trail to the high bridge. So Rick is looking at his phone at a stock ticker for 15 minutes. Like, how many companies does he care about with the changing prices? So we'll see what the prosecution and defense presents to use the stock ticker for their advantage. Yeah, this clown here said, not you, not Luna, Tom. He probably had a 401k through CVS. So we'll see. Oh, this is a really good question. Keeping eyes peeled. Hi. Who do you think the first witness for the prosecution will be? That's a great question. Who do you guys think? I don't know. I sorry, I say I don't know. I don't know all the time. I've said previously, like one of the biggest pieces of evidence I'm looking forward to, or I don't want to say looking forward to, but I'm interested in is the car data. If it shows that Rick's car, even if they can't know the exact location, but if they were able to retrieve this 5.5-year-old data, and it says essentially Rick only used the car from 1:20 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. and this Hoosier Harvester camera at 1:27 truly did capture his car heading to CPS. And then it shows the next time he turned it on was approximately 4 to 4:10 p.m. I would call that person first, probably, to tell the jury this man's car, the defendant, was only used at the times that add up to him being bridge guy. If they don't have that data, or obviously if it only shows that he was using his car, whatever, for the noon to 1:30 timeline, then why is he still in prison? My concern is that that data was lost due to law enforcement mistakes and not following up on him properly. Ivy Push is going to the trial or the hearing on Tuesday. Should be a hot mess. Express. We'll see what happens. Sorry for the silence. I'm looking for comments. Hi, Peter. Are you behaving today? Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce this. I'm going to do voir dire. Oh, actually, I'm just going to call it like jury selection. Ah, okay. Peter said voir dire, to speak the truth. Voir dire, Latin. All right. Can we just say jury selection? I'll avoid it. Yeah, so jury selection, at first, Judge Gull said, this is another big issue that they're talking about on Tuesday. The defense filed for a speedy trial. Gull replied and said, okay, I'll set it for, it's on the schedule for May 13th, which is a Monday, to the 31st, which I think is a Sunday or Saturday. And she said, we're going to go 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day, Monday through Saturday. And she said in this file or this email this week, you guys never complained about it since I said that in March. And Baldwin and Rosie were like, well, you never really told us any procedures or something like that. So this Tuesday, they're going to be arguing that I guess the 13th to the 31st is not sufficient for presenting each side's case. And at first, I think she said 3 days for jury selection, but now it's going to be 4 days in Allen County. And then once the jury is selected, they're taking the bus to the Delphi area to be sequestered for who knows how long. Hi, Katja. Anyone here actually going to the trial? Well, the Carroll County courthouse apparently is very small. And I've heard like a lot of people who have YouTube channels and are interested in the case are going to show up. But it's people who like hate each other online. So hopefully people will behave outside. And hopefully law enforcement will be out there like pointing their guns at everybody to behave. Oh, who knows? I'm really hoping this week Auntie Gull is going to say, okay, I've been tricking you all and holding you in suspense. I'm going to allow one camera that the court is going to control, and it will be streamed on Tom's YouTube channel. So stay tuned for that. She's denied every like local TV station's request for video, and also a station asked just for audio, and she denied that also. They tried it, she denied it. Thank you, Sassfire. Keep an eyes peeled. How many phones are in evidence? Do you know? I'm almost certain the list of like phones and pagers or something from Rick's house was approximately 16. Some people are like, well, that's a hell of a lot of phones, but his wife and his daughter lived with him. Also, his wife's brother died a few months before the murders happened. So who knows if she maybe took some of the brother's phones and just kept them at their house. I'm almost certain the defense in the Frank's memo #1 said there's nothing on Rick's phones or found at his house that connects him to the murders. However, if so, why is the defense trying to hide everything found at his house? So we'll see. Purdue RN. I was wondering if temperature and or moisture played a role in the operation of the battery and phone ping for Libby's phone, which that just kind of, when I was reading these other comments about this phone, I remembered based on the Frank's memo, they said, so on the ground was Libby's phone. On top of that was Libby's sneaker, and Abby's body was on top of both of them. So how did those two items, I don't want to say items, her body and a sneaker, prevent any kind of connection to a tower? As I said in my video or my intro here, I think it's more important not just a phone company pinging her phone. What about the actual data on her phone showing if that phone moved, if somebody touched a button? That's more important to me than a phone company ping. That's my statement. Hi, 50 Shades of Faye. Ivy Push. There are 2 benches, one near the Mears parking lot and one from Freedom Bridge. You obviously didn't watch my video. How did Richard Allen not see the 4 girls and Bridge Guy? That's the title. I know it's a little bit long. I show there's 6 benches. There's one at the Mears intersection, which is the last one before the High Bridge, and then there's 5 other ones between Freedom Bridge and Mears parking lot. If you hear like some squeaking noise, there's some birds outside my window. Just want to make sure in case you hear that. I don't know if there's some baby birds that were birthed. Anyway, Rick said he sat on a bench after he stood on platform 1. So which bench? How long? What was he doing? I'm looking forward to hearing these answers from the defense, which people say the defense does not have to prove that Rick is innocent. However, if the prosecution presents that these 4 girls between 12:30 and 1:30 walked past all 6 benches and took a picture of High Bridge at 12:43, didn't see Rick on the trail, didn't see Rick on any of the 6 benches, Rick ain't in the picture, where was he? Stay tuned. Yeah, I don't want to be rude to the new attorney for the defense. I believe her last name is pronounced OJ. However, if I start saying OJ, people are gonna be like, why is he talking about OJ Simpson? So I'll call her Jennifer OJ from now on instead of Defense Mommy or Jenny from the Defense Daddy's block. These attorneys aren't watching my stupid live chats. Only 448 people are. Hi, everybody from around the world. Thank you for joining and sharing your thoughts and prayers. Hopefully this case is coming to a conclusion for these families, Abby and Libby, and also Richard Allen and his family, because this is about those people and the people of Delphi, not all of us nosy people. I'm only 45 minutes behind on comments. I'll probably go over 2 hours today. We're at 59 minutes, so we'll see. I'll go until my cup is empty. No, I won't. All right, here we go. Sorry, I'm awkward, but people keep showing up anyway. Hi, Stargirl. I want to know what Rick's movements were before and after the crime to make a comparison. Very interested to know what he was up to that day. There's a rumor that he went to his mom's house before he went to the trails. Very interested to know if that's true. Again, it's just a rumor. Hi, Coach Kev. Have fun in Florida. Now there's a bratty kid outside screaming, so if you hear that, all right, he's annoying. I have nicknames for him, but they're not very nice, though. Anyway, I'm not saying. Demon Spawn. All right. Luna said, I would love to be a sequestered juror. I need a break from my life. Uh-oh. Elvis ate cat food and also fried peanut butter and banana sandwiches. 2 weeks seems a bit short for the trial. I agree. I was wondering, like, the prosecution said they're going to call 118 witnesses. The defense, I think, said they have 70, so that's almost 200 people. The defense, I think, said they have about 24 about the Odinist theory. So who knows? Who knows? Wait for, I don't know how long Gull is going to take to rule on whatever happens on Tuesday. Obviously, it's going to have to rule before the following Monday jury selection. Hi, Anne. My guess is Judge Gull is going to have the last laugh vis-a-vis Rosie and Baldwin shenanigans somewhere down the road after this is all in the rearview mirror. Well, Homegirl got called out by the Indiana Supreme Court for falsely removing them from the case. Although I guess, I mean, you could say she did not remove them and they voluntarily resigned. But, I mean, she didn't give them much of a choice. Hi, not DB Cooper. I thought he was staying at Tobes. I think, did I say that on my last live chat that the jury is staying at Tobes? Oh, Lordy. We haven't heard from Tobe in a long time. I've never heard from Tony Liggett talk about this case. There's probably a reason for that. All right, here we go. Hi, Sinbad Sour. McClelland did not say the defense can't impeach a witness. He simply wants to prevent the defense attorneys from personally vouching for an expert witness. McClelland won't do it either. I don't know how much we're going to learn about this May 7th, the contents of the hearing. I'm sure we're just going to get like a basic overview from people. The transcript won't be released for at least a while. Although I think in Gull's like rules for Tuesday, she said there won't be a transcript provided to the public. However, a few people have, I guess, paid for prior transcripts from hearings. Hi, JJ. JJ finds it creepy that Rick had so many knives at his house. Well, it'd be interesting to know, did any of them match the crime scene? It seems like there's no data. Well, not data, DNA. I think they said Rick's DNA was not found at the crime scene, but we're waiting to find out, was the DNA or blood of Abby and Libby found in his car on any items, including a knife? If you murder 2 girls with a knife, would you really keep it? I don't know. I would not. I would not kill 2 girls with a knife. Hi, Grunge Truck. Trying to confuse the jury is the intention on behalf of the defense. Aloha, Kevin. I wish you would go on other YouTube shows as a live guest. No thanks. I don't like doing my own. And shed some facts on the larger platforms. Nobody cares about me. But thank you, Kevin. You're always kind. Purdue has been to the crime scene area, I think. The crime scene area was an old gravel pit. I noticed high levels of quartz in the crushed limestone used in the parking area. May be interference from quartz crystals too. You did a lot. Do you have a spreadsheet or a PowerPoint presentation for that? Alec, hi, thank you. Please, I appreciate you so much. And last time you were so generous, and also today. So that's enough of the donations. I appreciate it. I don't want you to waste your money on me. Just wanted to provide some additional support and continued encouragement to you, your work, Tom. Thank you. I appreciate it. Is it true that EF tried to give away to assist a blue jacket before Bridge Guy video was publicly released? We have not found out the time frame of these incriminating statements that EF made to his sisters, his two sisters. He made various statements to them, and they do seem kind of suspicious. However, one of the sisters said when he was doing it, he was incoherent and rambling. And so we don't know the exact time of the blue jacket, but I'm not sure what to think about EF. If there's blood on the jacket, why would he try to give it to his sister instead of just throwing it out? People who have seen the crime scene photos, I guess some people say there are not horns or antlers, which this EF guy said to his sisters, or at least one sister. I put horns or antlers on Abigail's head or hair because she was annoying or something like that. We'll see. I do admire his sisters for going to police twice to try to make them aware of what he was saying. However, somebody, I guess a few days ago in my comment said, EF said that he spit on one of the girls within a few days of the murders, but that was in February 2018 that he said that to the police officer. So a year later. Not that it really matters, but obviously they took EF's DNA and it did not match the crime scene, but also they took Rick's DNA and it did not match the crime scene either. So they both apparently have made incriminating statements and both their DNA does not match the crime scene. Some people say that EF is the sketch or resembles the sketch at 8:30 a.m. at the start of the private drive that this married couple returned from, I guess, going into town. And they pulled into like the start of the private drive and there's like mailboxes there. And they said they saw some creepy looking guy who should not have been there. And then I guess they parked in their driveway soon after and he was gone. However, that was around 8:30 a.m. So we know Bridge Guy is from 213. So what was that creepy guy doing for 6 hours? And Richard Allen said he was there noon to 1:30, did not see any males. So where was that guy hiding? I don't know that we'll ever find out if Judge Gall does not allow the Odinist defense. Sassfire, I feel that Rick came forward thinking someone may have recognized him that day, but I'm sure he's hating himself for doing so, because if he didn't, I don't think he would have been, I don't think they would have looked into him. I agree. I'm still not sure if Rick was Bridge Guy or involved, but he would never have been looked into again if he never came forward. And there's never that 74th tip in FBI Orion system. People say, why would he come forward if he was guilty? Well, he said he passed 3 girls around noon. If he's truly lying and he passed 4 girls around 1:30, I'm sure was concerned that they might come to CVS and recognize him. You could say, well, in 5.5 years, none of those girls did go into CVS and recognize him and tell police. Lots of different questions and different sides to the same issue. Hi, Wampo. Bonjour. Are trials always this much of a convoluted nightmare to plan and commence? I don't follow any other trials really, but I'm shocked at how long it takes some of these cases to go to trial. I kind of paid attention to one called Amanda Blackburn. Her husband is a pastor named Davy Blackburn. She's from the Indianapolis area. And like 3 young guys from the area were like on a crime spree. and they shot her, and the police found these 3 guys within like the first few weeks or few days. The guy who pulled the trigger, his trial did not happen for 6 years. That's crazy. Hopefully, this trial is not going to get delayed that long. Sorry. Hi, Cecil Hotel. I know the trial is 6 days a week, but perhaps a month should have been allowed, and if finished early, that would be fine. I don't know how they're going to call 200 witnesses, and the opposing side is going to get to cross-examine them. I mean, well, almost 30 of the witnesses apparently are going to say that at Westville, Richard Allen made incriminating statements. So if an inmate gets on the stand and says, yes, on this date, I was standing out or sitting outside Rick's cell as a suicide companion, and on this date he said whatever statement, how long is the prosecution going to have to like ask him a bunch of questions, and then the defense, how long would their questioning be? So I don't know that a lot of those 30 people, their questioning is going to last that long. I do know that, what do I do? I don't know anything. The defense filed some kind of subpoena to, I believe it was Lacey Patton Jr. is one of these inmates. And they said, you're scheduled currently for Monday, May 20th to testify. But we will keep you updated to see if the scheduling changes. So I don't know, the second or third day of the trial, they're expecting to hear from the Westville peeps. I mean, 30 people on the stand. If I'm a juror and there's 30 people coming on the stand saying, yes, that man over there, the defendant, said the following statement, which points towards him being involved in these crimes. Good luck trying to convince me that that was because of some kind of mental issue that randomly came up after 5 months of being in that situation. People say Rick lost his mind or was upset because he was in prison instead of a county jail. However, the defense themselves have said for the first 5 months in those conditions, Rick was fine mentally. They said March 24th, they met with him and he was fine mentally. I've said all this stuff like 27,000 times. So it's going to be interesting to hear. Actually, yeah. So I think I said that Via Path Technologies, which I don't know why it's taken McClelland so long to request these audio phone calls. What did Rick sound like on these phone calls leading up to April 3rd? Did he sound like he was slowly losing his mind or quickly losing his mind? I don't know that we're going to hear it if the trial is not broadcast, but hopefully the jury will. Hi, Mustang. There has to be 3 towers to triangulate. I forget as this case has progressed. I think people have said at the time in Delphi, there may have been only 2 towers, but I think now they added some more. Hi, Angie. Thank you. Hi, Tyler. Considering all the commentators that have said Franks are rare, having 4 of these things is pretty crazy. Also seems strange to keep trying when it hasn't worked so far. I know. Well, Auntie Gull has not even decided on Frank's number 3. I just don't. I think they're. I don't know. Cray cray for just keep trying to push this issue. She denied the first 2, and I think rightfully so. I think without these quote unquote lies and stuff, there was still enough information to be concerned that Richard Allen was involved in these crimes and his house and car should be searched. What do I know? Let me skip over a bunch of stuff. Sorry. I'm 50 minutes behind. Awkward silence. Ivy Push. I think you're talking about the cell phones. So the defense has said a few times that around the time of the murders, between the bridge and the crime scene, there was 3 phone numbers, yet none of them belonged to Richard Allen. Ivy says we know who they belong to, and they are not the so-called Odinists. Was one of them Libby's? Was one of them these other people, like flannel shirt guy, arguing couple, or the 2 older, not older, but the 2 women who went to walk the bridge? We'll see. As far as I know, none of them are the Odinists, or obviously, if it belonged to like BH or PW, the defense would have put that in a filing. Sassfire, has there ever been a documented crime of Odinist against average citizens? Well, apparently, yes. I'm sure that they are involved in some illegal activities. Well, I probably shouldn't say that. Oh, but I've never heard of white nationalists murdering white children, which is like the first sentence of the first Frank's memo said something like, I don't remember the exact quote. Abby and Libby were killed as part of a ritualistic sacrifice carried out by white nationalists. I don't know. Good luck convincing the jury about that. Hi, Ivy Push. Thank you so much for being a member and your generous donation. I really appreciate it. Just to clear up, the coroner, who was a young man, he did not perform the autopsies. Those were done by a forensic pathologist in Terre Haute, Indiana. All right, thank you. Yeah, I guess my last live chat, I was like, uh-oh, I don't want to spread rumors. I think, was it the death certificate maybe filled out by the funeral home, and the young, not young, but the college-age son of the funeral home owner signed it? Uh-oh. Don't listen to what I'm saying. That's just like a rumor that I vaguely remember. But I highly doubt a college kid performed the autopsies. Hi, Nevada Tan. iPhones are designed to connect to towers without cell coverage and on very low battery as a safety feature for emergencies. Yeah, hopefully experts will clarify what could have happened. Although I was confused by the defense saying the first ping that morning was something around 5:40. I know there's like 5:44 p.m. on the 13th, but then later on, the defense also said the first ping on the 14th in the AM was around 5:30 ish, but then they said the first ping was 4:33 a.m. So I don't know why they said the first ping was 5:30 ish and 4:30 ish. Hi, Reeker. The more they try to exclude, the more time the defense has to do their job. Otherwise, the prosecution will have the floor 90% of the time. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting trial. Who knows if we'll get to hear it. Let me skip over a bunch more. Wampo, I still don't really know how the defense can bounce back from just straight up lying about the prison guards thing. I think you're saying that fake quote, which they admitted in the footnote in the Frank's memo, page 22, footnote 15. How do I know this stuff? That's where they was trying to say, like, there's no privacy with the Odinist guards videotaping Rick meeting with his attorneys, which I agree that, I mean, I can understand that they had to videotape just to prevent any kind of violence between an inmate and their attorneys. However, the defense trying to say, which they said, quote, like Richard Allen would be not feel comfortable to say something along the lines of, quote, although don't quote me directly, the guards are telling me my family will be killed unless I call my wife and say I killed those girls, end quote. Which to me, when I read that, I wondered, did Rick truly say on the phone to his wife, I killed those girls. So the defense felt like they had to find an excuse why this man, their client, would say to his wife on the phone, I killed those girls. And the excuse they came up with is because Odin Asgard said, do it or we'll kill your family. But some people still bring that up in like comments and stuff, acting like that was true, and it's not. The defense said the Odin Asgards did not do that. So I've said previously also, I'm very interested to see this video of Rick in his cell synced up with this audio, and like what are Rick's actions before this phone call on April 3rd, 2023 to his wife, where the prosecution says several times he admitted he killed Abby and Libby. Is he looking at evidence papers and acting like, uh-oh, I'm screwed, and stressed out that he has to call his wife now and admit to being involved? Hopefully the jury will get to see that stuff, because the defense, they also filed to prevent everything Rick said and wrote at Westville from the trial, which to me, I mean, that's a little extreme. We'll see. Are they trying to get these phone calls removed from the trial? Sassfire, do you think the sticks placed on the girls were done in a specific intentional pattern or just randomly to try to conceal them? Some people have said, like other crime scenes out in the woods, people do try to, Laura, thank you so much for your Venmo. I appreciate you. Is that a pizza? A pizza slice? Ah, it is. Thank you, Laura, whoever the heck you are. I appreciate you. Oh my gosh. What am I talking about? Unfortunately, something sad. All right. From the sketches that I've seen and heard, like there's a large branch across both Abby and Libby's neck. So maybe it was intentional, but I've said previously, if the defense wants to try and prove that like an Odinist did this, they're going to have to get somebody on the stand to say the 3 branches on Abby is this rune related to Odinism, and this is the probable meaning that the killer or killers and Odinists were trying to convey to whoever found the bodies. On Libby, the 4 branches are this. So we'll have to wait and see what the defense tries to present in regards to the branches, and what the prosecution and law enforcement say why they felt like it was not intentional or related to some kind of Norse pagan religion or something, or symbols. Hi, Sidonia. Attempting to get anything and everything tossed is the job of the defense and prosecution. Each side would be negligent if they did not at least try. There is no punishment for trying, right? If you say we can't punish them, then I guess we can't. All right, I have to skip over a bunch more, sorry. I'm just like looking through your comments to try and find a topic we have not talked about. What in the hell? We haven't talked about that, and we shouldn't. High caricature contest. Rick needs to explain why his bullet is at the crime scene. Can't deny it. Actually, maybe he can, because the defense is going to have somebody, I'm sure, come up onto the witness stand to say this quote unquote science of matching an unspent round, which means it wasn't even like the trigger was not pulled, where it would not go through like the chamber out the front of the gun. it just popped out the back. That means it's an unspent cartridge. So obviously, I do think as a member of the jury, I would be somewhat swayed by police getting on the stand and saying, we tested other local guns in the Indiana State Crime Lab, state police, and none of those guns matched the unspent round found near the bodies until we tested Richard Allen. I don't know if any of those other guns were a 6 Sauer P226 like Rick has. So stay tuned, because that's going to be a huge debate at the trial, which will take quite a bit of time. I'm not frozen. Sorry. Yeah, this is another rumor that I've seen recently. Nevada Tan, quote, bullet was 2 inches in the ground, end quote, embedded in the dirt or hidden under 2 inches of wind-blown leaves. Emoji. I think a possible scenario is that when Bridge Guy, which I don't know that it's Rick, approached Abby and Libby, police say they've obviously heard this. Police have heard the sound of like what it sounds like to pull the top of a gun, the slide back. And they said that Bridge Guy did it to intimidate Abby and Libby, as he said, like, go down the hill, which would pull up like a unspent cartridge from the gun magazine, aka a bullet. So if they get to the crime scene, Bridge Guy and Abby and Libby, and he wants them to undress or do stuff, did he pull it back again, which popped out this unspent round? Did Bridge Guy pick it up and put it in like the side pocket of his blue jacket? And then as he was moving the bodies, did it fall out or adding branches? Unbeknownst to him, and his shoe pushed it into the ground. I think that's a logical explanation, more so than some people thinking like a police officer had a random gun cartridge in his pocket and it fell out when they were processing the crime scene. So we'll have to wait and see, or the jury, these photos of the crime scene to know if exactly what this unspent round, where it was in relation to the bodies. I know there's this whole issue of chain of custody where the defense previously said they only have a picture of the unspent round in the ground, which may be a close-up, and only one other photo of it at the crime lab. So it's going to be interesting to know, did law enforcement take even more pictures and video to show that it was however close it was to the bodies? And there's this huge issue. Did they find it on the day, the 14th, with the bodies, or was it found later? My shirt is crooked and it's driving me crazy. Sorry. I'm so OCD. All right. Janine, I can't wait for the rest of the phone of Libby. Do you mean the video? I doubt we'll ever see that 43-second video ourselves. But I'm very interested to know, did Libby put the phone down by her pocket or her waist as Bridge Guy was right in front of them? And did it capture some kind of jeans, fanny pack, some kind of something on his clothing that could be matched up to Richard Allen's clothing? We'll see. I'm very interested to know also, on October 13th, did police ask Rick's wife, like, here's the picture of Bridge Guy. Did your husband own jeans that look like that? A blue jacket that looked like that? That brown stuff around the waist, was that a shirt or sweatshirt that your husband owned? Something on his head, like, did he own a head covering or hood that could match what Bridge Guy has? And we'll see what she said. Kevin says, if Libby's sister, Kelsey, does not change her mind about taking Abby and Libby and dropping them off at the trails on her way to her boyfriend's before work, and say yes to a ride, the girls stay home. I wonder then if any murder takes place at all. If it's Rick, then probably yes, with a different victim. Kevin, you know, my main motive that I can think of is that if Rick is bridge guy and he did truly go to the trails often over the 11 years that he lived there, did he want to see two younger girls do stuff to each other because he was concerned that he could not assault them himself to transfer his DNA? People wonder, why did bridge guy not kidnap or assault and kill the four girls near the start of the trail? I think that's way too many humans for somebody to do stuff to. Also, it's at the start of the trail. He did not know who was at the other end. Also, I've been thinking, because Bridge Guy has so many items, I don't want to say so many items, but I think there's stuff in his jacket, which I think is something that all of us can agree. That does not look like a beer belly. There's stuff in his jacket. So whoever Bridge Guy is, he could not do this crime in the summer because he does not have, he can't wear like a larger jacket to hide whatever he had in there, whether it was whatever, gloves, a rope, whatever. So it seems like this day off on a Monday for local school kids, where there might not be a lot of adults, was kind of like a perfect opportunity for Rick, if he did truly have this motive and urge for many years. And finally, like two girls show up at the bridge. Who knows? I don't know that we'll ever find out the motive, which to me, the main issue is, who was Bridge Guy? That's like the main question, not exactly the motive. But with Libby being found totally nude, it seems like it's some kind of sexual motive. Shelley, yeah, I've heard a few people say this. Checking stock does not mean it's the financial stock market. Could be fish stock, but I don't think he checked either. Well, it's going to be interesting. He said he was looking at his phone, which would require a connection to a network. So if his phone number did not show up on these various geofence and phone pings, that ain't good for him. Purdue thinks he was using a burner phone the day of the unaliving. So do the data reports show an unknown burner phone around the time of the murders? Malibu, how can it be that the 43-second video does not confirm the identity of Bridge Guy? Well, she wasn't like holding it up to his face, which they obviously would have released something else if it was more clear than this blurry Bridge Guy video from far away, which I think Libby just really quickly put her phone up and then put it back down. I'm still 50 minutes behind. Oh, crap. All right. Skipping over 50 comments. JJ says, shame law enforcement called off the search dogs after finding the bodies. Well, I don't know about that. Didn't he, Lesenby call them off on the 13th, maybe? I don't know what they could have done to save the girls, because I do think they were killed in the spot they were found, probably by 2:30 or fairly quickly, I believe. They could have followed the killer's exit path. Yeah, to me, I'm very discombobulated about how Bridge Guy goes from the crime scene to CPS, which it seems like we can debate about a bunch of stuff, but whoever was parked at CPS did not come forward after April 2019. Also, the four girls at 1:30 said a guy matching Bridge Guy came from the Freedom Bridge area. So I do think Bridge Guy, or not, sorry, yeah, Bridge Guy, parked at CPS. So how is he not seen on the Hoosier Harbor Store video camera? I'm interested to know, is that motion activated where somebody walking is too slow compared to a car, or is it continuous? So if it's continuous and there's no man matching Bridge Guy walking by, how did Bridge Guy avoid that camera? And how is the prosecution going to explain that they think Rick was Bridge Guy and seen on at 357 on 300 North by this driver? who apparently said maybe his jacket was lighter than Bridge Guy's dark blue jacket. However, she also apparently said she did see Libby's video screenshot, and that is the man that she saw. So how could she say that and also say his jacket was tan or something? So we'll see. Malibu quote. Uh-oh, what? I don't know about this. Yeah, we're not talking about that. Sorry. I saw Tom as a journalist. I don't think so. Uh-oh, I'm turning red. Sleuth Intuition saw a guy in a brand new Corvette driving 90 miles per hour down the freeway with a huge Mexican flag attached. Uh-oh. Hi, Joe kids. Hi, Joe wife. Purdue says to Gail, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Bipolar is so different than a murderous plan with gun, knife, and burner phone backing in parking spot. Was Gail maybe saying that Rick was suffering from some kind of bipolar mental issue? He's from what we've seen, he did suffer from depression for a long time, but I don't think they've ever referenced bipolar disorder. Hi, Chuck Jones. Any relation to Tom? Tom Jones. I'm an idiot. Internet has muddied the case. That and the Ron Logan goose chase I've followed since day one, and some key things that everyone missed. Rick is the guy, and no doubt he and Kegan probably communicated, but let's see if Chucky, but may have never met in person. This was sexually motivated. The scene was misconstrued as many teens for many years had passed through that area. What was done having, how many things did you say? What was done having nothing to do with position tells. Chuck, part 3. Are you trying to get as many sequels as the Franks memo? Tells a lot. What will come out in court within the pages of confiscated books and NE many phones will piece much of the picture together. I need a drink after that. Hold on. Oh God, 466 people are watching this. I don't even remember what you said in your first two things. The pages of confiscated books. What's that about? I've never heard about that. I have heard that they did take books from Rick's house. I've never heard about something being stuffed inside. Like, what could you put inside of the pages of a book? Hi, Amy. Can they please narrow it down to a specific type of knife to say it was or was not a katana? I've heard rumors that they felt like it was a certain type of knife. I don't want to say it was like the end of it was like hooked. I'm not sure. I don't know. Yeah, obviously don't know. I guess they would have to wait for not the autopsy, but the forensic pathologist, I guess, to show like whatever the wounds, if they could tell like what kind of knife it was. However, if that person said it was this certain type of knife and police confiscated a similar type of knife from Rick's house and tested it for Abby and Libby's DNA, and their DNA does not show up on that knife, then how is it pointing towards Rick's guilt? Nevada Tan, it can be sexually motivated without sexual assault taking place. I agree. I mean, at least without Rick. I don't want to get too graphic, but yeah, I won't talk about that. Hi, Gulls Gavel. What a great screen name. The katana, is it katana, Katana? Alan had was described as very small with red tassels. Yeah, it's like I don't want to say Russian. Anyway, pretend like I didn't say that. I found the exact image described on Amazon, not the weapon, in my opinion. Right. Thank you for sharing your opinion. Hi, Salty Beach. I think Rick might have said something about the crime scene that only the killer would know. It couldn't have been my gun. They weren't shot, which that was released, but um, so you're saying it was not known that Abby and Libby were only a knife was used and not a gun. However, when did Ron Logan's search warrant leak? Wasn't it before Rick's arrest? So Rick may have known that Abby and Libby were only killed with a knife. Ivy Push said one of the phones was McCain. Well, what about Ron Logan? So what about Libby, Ron Logan, and McCain is the last name of flannel shirt guy, which his brother apparently rode his bike there around 4 o'clock or something. I don't know about that. Because somebody said there's a rumor that the other brother of flannel shirt guy was captured on riding his bike on a trail cam or something. I don't know if he was on 300, and I don't know. I don't want to start rumors, so ignore me. Sidonia, yeah. How can the Odinist theory be allowed when all men have solid alibis? You cannot participate in a murder if you aren't there. I agree with that. How could the defense argue this? It defies logic. Well, they argued it partially in the first Frank's memo because the Odinist BH, which is like one of the main two people that the defense is saying were they have significant evidence they were involved. His human resources manager at his job said, I think he checked in around 4 a.m. He works at a landfill or something for garbage and checked out at 2:45 p.m., which we know is 30 minutes after Bridge Guy video. And his job is 30 minutes from the crime scene. Also, PW, he has 4 children. They lived in Delphi, so they would have been off of school also. Did one of his children, at least one, I think his son kind of attended a deposition. Is the son going to say, yeah, my dad was home that afternoon? So good luck to the defense convincing Auntie Gull or the jury that these 6 Odinists were actually in the woods or on the bridge at 2:13. I don't even know what this means. It's probably a diss. Boston Christian, dearest Tom W., just letting you know your head. Oh, I thought you were like dissing me. Anyway, oh my gosh. Yeah, this is. Did I say this at the beginning? Peter B. I haven't seen you. I saw your comment. I was going to use another background when I started doing these live chats. I had Abby and Libby behind me in the background, but it was just too sad seeing their smiling faces and knowing what happened. So I've been doing like my vacation pictures and like more serene locations. And Peter B is from Wales and he suggested this. So that's that. Gulls Gavel, the live chat with Steve from True Crime Web and Fig Solves about cell video was very informative, right? Yeah, I saw part of it. And it does definitely cast doubt on like the pinging all over town. Sleuth Intuition says stocks equal money problems, possibly. You think Rick was playing the stock market and wanted to see if he was making money that day? I did Google to see like what kind of, if there's major activity on the stock market on February 13th, 2017, that would even cause Rick to care about, my feet are on, sorry. My camera is moving because my feet are moving. Anyway, you think that Rick was, oh no. So I looked for February 13th and there wasn't any major stock market news that day. Janine, even if he stopped his phone from 1:30 to 5, it would be very suspicious. I agree. However, the defense in the Franks memo said they do have phone data for the Odinist EF. and his phone was not used at all between, I'm almost certain it was 10:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. So if they're saying that this guy EF was the 8:30 sketch, how did he get the 2 hours to Delphi from like 6:30 to 8:30 a.m.? What did his phone EF show between that time? And if the defense is now saying something about 4:33 a.m., then what was EF's phone doing at that time? I know that the other PW and BH, the defense said they have in the discovery evidence draft search warrants for AT&T, which is a phone company in America, for like to search the phone's activity of BH and PW, but it was never sent to AT&T to check it out, which that's not good police work. um, Stay tuned. Let me skip over a bunch more. I'm getting even like worse. What are you guys talking about here? Hi, big fish, small pond. Did Kathy's brother, who died a few months before the murders, have life insurance or any assets? I don't know if he was married or not. How do we know he was struggling to afford a wedding and a funeral? I guess you guys are saying maybe Rick was stressed out that his daughter got married November 2017. So 9 months before the murders, or after, sorry. I don't know. I'm not going to say what I just thought. All right, sorry. Oh, there's Peter. I'm busy. Hold on. I'm muting this. Hold on. I'm not saying who it is. I said I'm on a live chat with 450 people watching. They laughed and said goodbye. All right, here we go. Hi, Bees9. I agree. I can't believe we're getting closer to answers finally. I almost don't believe it. Hopefully. And as I said before, it's about the families and Rick and his family, not us, but hopefully, I mean, after 7 years, hopefully the answers are finally going to be revealed. KT, I'm at half for your spreadsheet. That's an inside joke. I don't think the Tuesday hearing will be an open court. Gull released the rules for it, and people from the public can wait outside. And she said until it's filled up, they can go. I don't know if this is me, not DB Cooper. Your fish stocking app comment. Sorry, I guess I might have misunderstood if you were joking. Well, people have said that there is an app for like when local rivers and creeks and ponds, like maybe like the conservation officer, I think that's part of what they do is they kind of like arrest people who are fishing in the wrong spot. So I don't know. People say there is an app to say like Deer Creek, whatever agency, wildlife agency, I don't know what I'm talking about, released 100 fish into Deer Creek. I don't know what I'm saying. But people are saying like that could be the possible stock ticker comment. But to me, stock ticker, like that's Wall Street, not fishies. Ivy Push. Brad Rosie asked for 3 weeks in the June 2023 hearing. Okay. Yeah, so I mean, that's even over the time that Gull, I think it's 15 calendar days is what Judge Gull has set aside, excluding the Sundays. Hi, TJ. TJ had no idea jury selections happen right before the trial. Don't get much of a notice. Yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen. I know that they sent questionnaires to 600 people from Allen County. I don't know about this jury selection. The voir dire. I guess both sides. I think both the prosecution and defense like came up with questions for this questionnaire. Based on that, they'll call in a certain number of people, and I guess they're once they get to Allen County Courthouse for 4 days, they're going to call these various people who passed, if you want to call it passed, the first round, and they're going to, I guess, ask them questions to see, do I want this person on the jury? And both the prosecution and defense have to agree. Am I right about that? Uh-oh, what? Hi, Trish. Oh, Lordy. What are we at? An hour and 50 minutes? I might go for 3 hours today. Anyway, there's still 450 people. Europe will be going to bed soon. All right, what do I do? I need a nap. And yeah, people say good luck getting Rick on the stand. Well, I think a lot of us will be shocked if Rick does actually get on the stand, but we'll see. Only way for the defense to put on Rick's story of what he was doing there that day is put Rick on the stand. They've never cited corroborating evidence in hundreds of filings to date, but Rick ain't getting on that stand. Yeah, I've never seen a valid alibi about where Rick was between noon to 4 o'clock. So, I mean, I know the only thing that the defense has said is because witness 4 at 2:14 saw a car from the 1960s at CPS. That means that Richard Allen was home at 2:14 because he doesn't own a car from the 1960s. However, in that same filing, the defense totally ignored, never referenced once, the 210 driver 4 or 5 minutes before who saw a car in the same spot who said it was a purple PT Cruiser or small SUV. So which of those people had an accurate description of that car? Both of those people drew a diagram and essentially drew it in the same position, which essentially was against the CPS building, which in October 2022, Rick said, I parked next to an old building, which it's CPS. That's where he parked. So I've said this previously. It's like, it's really hard for me to come to like some kind of conclusion that makes sense that Rick says he's parked at CPS. He backed up to the building until 1:30. He pulls out around 1:30, but at 1:27 on video, there's a car matching his, according to the prosecution, which in the leaked defense, I was looking at the index the other day, and it says there's a zoom on the hatchback, which Rick had a hatchback. So it's going to be interesting to see how this car at 1:27 matches up to Rick. So he pulls out of this odd spot at CPS, and within a very short amount of time, another bridge guy wearing the same exact stuff, clothing essentially, parks in the same spot, and then is seen within a few minutes by these 4 girls as they're leaving. That's a coinky dink. That's I mean, that's really difficult for the defense to explain that away. Falling even further behind. Oh my gosh, I'm almost an hour behind. Hopefully people are being polite in the chat. Moderator, thank you as always, and just ban people if they're being annoying. Hi, Bernie Byrne. How far are Rick and his lawyers from the court? Well, this is what was in one of the filings because the defense was saying Rick might be transported up to 90 minutes each way, which that's not cool. Why not put him at Carroll County Sheriff and just add more officers or whatever? I know they've said that the Carroll, not the Carroll County Sheriff, but it's the same place. The Carroll County Sheriff and the jail are in the same building. However, they are building a new county jail for people. Why not put him in Carroll County? And so I think we'll find out on Tuesday. That's one of the issues they might be talking about. Ivy just Ivy said they're going to Tuesday's hearing. All right. Right. buy a plane and write smoke signals. Um, don't bring your phone in, or Auntie Gull will smash it with her gavel. Yeah, Nevada Tan, I agree with this. If it truly was Rick, and he did go there often, like the defense says, I really don't think he knew specifically Abby and Libby, although people said that Rick did know Abby's mom. He just knew teenage girls tended to use the trail as a local hangout. If he went there often, he would have seen, obviously, these teenagers going there over the years. Chuck says Rick is a predator. Is that what you meant? Not a predictor? He was likely heavily involved in online activity regarding underage girls. He likely had contact with Kegan and may be how he knew the girls would be at the trails. Well, the defense said in the Franks memo, there's no connection between Rick and other suspects. So, in law enforcement looking into Kegan Kline, at least from August 2020, when he got arrested, and that was the day of that really long interview with Kegan, they apparently, I don't know, did law enforcement ever find any communication with Kegan and Rick? It doesn't seem like it to me. Hi, Cynthia. I know your name, but thank you for becoming a member. Yeah, I hold member chats on Saturday afternoons, and then there's only like 20 people who join, so I get to every comment a lot quicker. Scott disagrees and says he did not just show up there as some coincidence. I know a lot of people feel like because law enforcement in that Kegan interview 2020, there's this issue of a girl that Kegan, as Anthony Schatz was talking to, said that Anthony Schatz, which is the same person but different body type, said, I was supposed to meet her, but she did not show up. I don't think there was a screenshot of this. I think this girl, I'm not saying she was lying, but it was her recollection. So, like, police did not have a specific screenshot conversation of Anthony Schatz, Kegan Kline, saying he was supposed to meet her. Also, it did not say which day or location. Some people just assume it was the 13th at the trail. However, how is Kegan going to show up? Which I said this last time, and I was kind of rude with my comment. How would Kegan show up and not look like Anthony Schatz? So was Kegan just saying that to this other girl to try and get sympathy? I don't know. It's been over 7 years that law enforcement looked into Kegan. He's never been charged with anything for Delphi. But Chuck, I disagree with you on this because Chuck says the fake Anthony Schatz account was possibly being passed around between several predators. My issue is that, according to police, in the affidavit to arrest Kegan, to find out who Anthony Schatz was, police subpoenaed subpoenaed evidence, not evidence, but information from Instagram and Snapchat to find out who was accessing the Anthony Schatz profiles. It came back to an IP address used by the internet company Comcast. Comcast said that IP address belongs to a house in Peru, the Klein's house. So it does not seem to me like other people or men, their IP addresses were accessing the Anthony Schatz account. If Rick in Delphi was accessing Anthony Schatz, wouldn't his IP address have come up whenever law enforcement looked into that, which was February 2017? So that's my point on that. Hi, Caroline Catastrophe. I've been here since Missy too. Is that Missy Beavers? I skipped over a comment, so sorry. Yeah, Missy Beavers. It's been 8 years and still unsolved, unfortunately. Hopefully one day. My main hope is that, like Delphi, maybe law enforcement failed to follow up on a certain person that they looked into, who's truly that person, but I don't know about that. Big fish, small pond. Would you keep the car, jacket, gun, and say you were at the trails as a sign of like innocence and guilt? How come law enforcement never asked about cars on the cameras? Yeah, my only thing about this, I know people say Rick is innocent because he did not get rid of that stuff. However, if he got his car was from 2016, so it's like a year old. Maybe he loved that car. So if he got rid of it, if there's like blood in the back of the car, if he's guilty, like what is his wife going to say? Why do you want to get rid of your car? Why do we have to move? Why? What happened to your jacket that's blue like that guy's? What happened to your gun? I don't know. I just think it's kind of risky if he is guilty to like change his car or ask his wife to move away. So, next question. How come law enforcement never asked about cars on the cameras? Which other cameras are you asking about? Are you saying like the 127, which lines up with, to me, it totally lines up with Bridge Guy being seen by these girls. Like 127 takes less than a minute to get to CPS, takes about 3 minutes to walk from CPS to the start of the trail, which is around the time the girls saw Bridge Guy, the 4 girls. I don't know. The other day I was thinking this 2017 tip or interview with Rick, the bottom, the thing that the conservation officer said, possible follow-up, who were the 3 girls that Rick said he saw around noon. So I was trying to think like, how did law enforcement do any kind of follow-up on this tip? Because the tip says this man was here 1:30 to 3:30 and he saw 3 girls. Who were those girls? So if law enforcement is keeping some kind of spreadsheet or tracker, everybody who was on the trail that day, like, I don't know, like have a line for 2:13, we know this is when Bridge Guy encounters Abby and Libby. Who was there soon around that time? And this piece of paper, whether it's true or not about Rick, it says this man was there 1:30 to 3:30. And he said he passed 3 girls. So if law enforcement knew there were 4 girls around 1:30, like what kind of follow-up did they do with these girls to say, did you pass a guy and where? Like it just doesn't seem like law enforcement did any kind of follow-up on Rick's first discussion with the conservation officer. And why not? Thank you, Miranda. Yeah, Missy Beaver's husband said some nice things about me recently. He obviously doesn't know me. No, I've emailed Missy Beaver's husband a few times, and he's very nice, and I don't think he's involved at all in her murder. Nevada Tan, let me sit up. In my opinion, he, I guess Rick, just wanted to control 2 girls shorter than him, which I think they were both 5'4", and he is also 5'4" to get some kind of some sexual gratification in his life that was spiraling. Well, how do we know he was spiraling? It could have been any 2 girls, to be honest. Yeah, I've said that the next day was Valentine's Day, and he had been married 25 years, and people say like, KT, sorry, excuse me. That was my Taco Bell. People say like, yeah, if you're married 25 years, nobody cares about Valentine's Day. I don't know. I'm interested to know what his wife said about everything in October 2022 with whatever people police asked her. Scott, if Richard Allen says that he was anxious to help the police when they finally questioned him, how come he never stepped forward when they were asking for witnesses to do so? He is guilty as Feihu. No. Well, yeah, you're partially correct. Not that I'm like correcting you. The defense team said Rick was happy to help, and that was in when he first came forward to the conservation officer in February 2017, not October 2022, because we just recently learned that on October 13th, he walked out of his interview with Liggett and Mullen, the officers. But I agree. I mean, this April 2019 press conference with Doug Carter saying, "We're looking for the driver of a vehicle who is parked at CPS between noon to 5." Rick knew he was there noon to 1:30, at least, if that timeline is correct. I just don't understand why he would not come forward, even if he truly, I mean, is innocent. I know you can say, well, he said he was there to the conservation officer. However, I don't know. I would have come forward, especially in this small town. It had been 2 years of uncertainty about who this man was. Why would he not come forward and say, I talked to this guy, a conservation officer, and I just want to make sure you guys know that I was there at CPS noon to 1:30. I did not see any other cars. Did he say he did not see any other cars at CPS? We'll see. Hi, Gen X Granny. Hi to all the grandmas and grandpas who tune in. Nevada tan. Carhartt makes reversible jackets in navy blue and tan, complete with hoods. So that's interesting. I've wondered if Bridge Guy, when they got to the crime scene, if he had items stuffed into his jacket. And it seems odd to me, like the zipper, how that, whatever's going on there. Did he take off his jacket as he pulled out whatever kind of items and put it down on the ground, knowing that he might be stabbing, unfortunately, these girls and getting blood on his clothing, so that he did not want to get it on the jacket? So he like put the blue jacket away from like the main crime scene. We'll have to wait to hear what this 357 driver says on the stand about the tan or brown jacket and the muddy and the bloody issue. Scott, Richard Allen could have been a star witness if he had stepped forward again when they were asking for witnesses to do so. He knew that they would look into him, though. Yeah, I mean, this whole drama that he's going through right now, if he had come forward and answered Doug Carter's request for people to come forward, he would not be in this situation now. So would he have been arrested in 2019 and gone through this then? Or would they have looked into him and said, okay, you're innocent. Thank you for coming forward and saying that you were at CPS from noon to 1:30. I don't know. Stay tuned for the car data and the phone data. Not DB Cooper. Yeah, people say Rick is a patsy. I don't think so, which means like law enforcement specifically said, oh, we're going to blame a random person just to get this case over with or to help Tony Liggett get elected sheriff, which I don't think so. It does not add up to me that that could have been pulled off by these officers. Not DB Cooper. This Odinist EF would have been the perfect patsy because I guess law enforcement says he has the mindset of a 7 or 8-year-old. He apparently said incriminating statements to his sister. So yeah, that's a good point. I'm very interested to know what law enforcement did to feel like they should not arrest him. And I think in my member live chat or something somewhere, I said, if Todd Click, the Rushville officer, felt along with these other 2 officers that the Odinists were involved and the murderers of Abby and Libby, what prevented them as police officers from arresting them? I know there's like this unified command who were like the top 6 law enforcement officers did or whatever Click, and these other 2 guys feel like they would be overstepping their bounds by arresting EF and these other guys. I don't know. I'm now over an hour behind. Sorry, I'm skipping over an hour. I'm going to skip over a lot. Yes, this is a good point because some people say, well, the defense made up this Odinist stuff, and they did not. It was based on these 3 officers, Ferenczi, Murphy, and Click. However, the accused Odinists did not seem happy when they were named in the Franks #1, September 18th of 2023, because 4 of them went on social media, and also PW went on Sleuth Intuition channel to say their jobs and their families are not, I don't know, their like job, they're having issues at their job. Their families are being threatened because their names are associated with being the murderer. So I don't blame the defense for like trying to take attention away from Rick. However, I have not seen enough evidence to point towards any of these onus being at the crime scene. Hi, Gail. Yeah, 8 days to go, folks, and it begins. Well, we'll see what happens on Tuesday because I don't know how long will Gull delay it if the defense says you did not allow us to present these third-party perpetrators. Will the defense appeal, and how long is that going to take? I will plug Don Spain's daughter's company. Hi, Don. Coach Kev is going to Florida. My daughter is a well-known Key West artist. She has 2 studios there called Island Contemporary. Stop by, say hi to her. She would love it, right? She gets a free plug from Tom too. Hi, Precy. Can we all admit that Gull and the prosecution's actions have been bizarre and suspicious? I'd have no issue thinking Rick was guilty if Gull and others were not doing such shenanigans. I mean, I've criticized everyone from the Auntie Gull to the defense daddies to Slick Nick. None of these people really follow procedures, and they all have like errors in their filing. So we'll see. Obviously, the Supreme Court said Gull was wrong for getting the defense off the case for 3 months. Bees 9 said Todd Click, the Rushville police officer, said he did not believe the murders were ritualistic, which the defense said they were. I'm surprised we are even entertaining the Odin Engel at this point. Well, we'll see what Auntie Gull entertains on Tuesday. Yeah, it's going to be crazy if she denies the opportunity to present third-party perpetrators. However, if that's how the cookie crumbles and that's she's following the proper procedure, she said, I'm very aware of third-party perpetrator defenses. So what is the defense going to present on Tuesday to convince her that possibly the onus were involved? From what I've seen, I think she will, and rightfully so, deny it because I have not seen anything in the defense filings that point towards these onus being at the trails that afternoon. Chuckleberry Finn, of course someone intentionally placed the sticks on the bodies. Would you posit sticks fell from the trees above onto the bodies? No, I think people are saying more so, was it a specific rune or message, not just that they were random. Hi, Lala. Watched a documentary on a serial unaliver, Donald Pee Wee Gaskins. He was 5'4" and weighed much less than Rick and had no problem unaliving, moving, and burying women and men all by himself. I do think Rick could have done this by himself in the time to be seen on 357, or sorry, on 300 at 357. Hi, Justin, North Dakota Trolls Sniper. I want to see how the bullet was matched. It seems like it depends on whether there were clear indicators that matched the bullet to his gun. Maybe they got lucky and it left some unique marks. I don't know. Join the Tom I don't know club. Well, if you're a sniper, do you have a microscope where you can do some tests to see if a unspent round is popped out? I don't know. Does it match up to your gun? Do a presentation. Ivy, push. This trial will be the battle of expert witnesses. Well, my hope is that there is some kind of undeniable evidence that will prove whether or not Rick truly was bridge guy and involved. McClelland upgraded the charges and said that Rick is also the murderer in addition to being bridge guy. So what is he going to present to prove that Rick was the murderer other than a phone call or whatever incriminating statements at Westville? 2 hours and 15 minutes. We'll go to 2 hours and 59 minutes if I see the clock. If I stop at 2 hours and 59 minutes, it's not a 3-hour live chat. Emerald City. Oh, come on, Richard Allen, just spill it already. Well, it's interesting to know, like, why is he supposedly talking to 30 different people, saying comments that might point towards him being involved, yet he's not changing his official plea to guilty? Salty Beach. So they can get him to confess, but not get him to plead guilty. Well, we don't know what the defense team is telling Rick about his chances of being found not guilty. If he truly is guilty and it's obvious from the trial, I know that there's a lot of people saying he has a very good chance at like an appeal because of all this like Judge Gull nonsense. However, I'm hoping if he truly is guilty and he's found guilty, that he's like, okay, I'm not going to even put more effort into this and just let the families, whatever, move on to the next stage of their lives without like an appeal hanging over their heads. Shelly is in the Judge Gull fan club. Coach Kev, who has a YouTube channel, I think the trial will dispel all the bullet rumors. I don't know. It seems like the defense is going to have an expert to kind of, I guess you're talking about the chain of custody, whether or not it was found on the 14th and properly documented. KT, good luck finding your glasses. All right, I'm now 45 minutes behind. Yeah, I do feel horrible for Rick and his family for what they're going through. If he's guilty, I don't feel bad, but as far as right now, I've not seen enough evidence to show that he is totally guilty. So hopefully there's a resolution coming for Rick and his family. I feel horrible for his wife, mom, daughter. Hi, Don. Thank you. Have your daughter send me a free painting. I have nothing on my walls. He's probably like, she charges $5,000. You wish. All right, next. Hello, 11. Why law enforcement didn't check Libby's father? I think you're talking about, it came out that law enforcement did not check the phones of Kelsey, Libby's father, and maybe her grandmother, Becky, which to me, I agree, they should have gotten that information. Why not? They apparently did not follow a lot of procedures or good law enforcement tactics to solve this case. Maybe they felt like they were truthful. I don't know. It does seem like a bad thing not to have gotten that information. However, have they done it since that came out? Probably not. Hi, Xtina. Auntie Gull about to put the onus theory to bed. Get ready for some drama if she does. Hopefully the people in the courtroom will relay exactly what goes down. Uh-oh, I have to sneeze. I might go off camera. If I suddenly like fly off camera, that means I have to sneeze. Oh, my foot's on there, sorry. Hi, Kay. This won't let me do a super chat. Why? It's okay. You're a member and you've given me some money. Don't give me any more, but thank you. I appreciate you. I have a funny thing to tell you, but I'm going to wait until the next member live chat. Hi, Aidan Clark and Songs. I highly doubt there is anything of significance on the rest of Libby's video, other than muffled movement, sounds, the girls panicking, etc. If there was anything else, the bridge guy bridge guy, law enforcement would have released it. I agree about that. I do think like people say that bridge guy does not appear to be a size resembling Richard Allen, which I don't agree. I do think that bridge guy has small feet, as does Richard Allen. And I think we have to remember that that photo and video that we've seen is zoomed in. Abby is in the frame, at least for part of it, and they cropped her out. So I think if it's at least the jury sees like the full non-zoomed in video, I think his body type will match more of Richard Allen than when it's zoomed in. Yes, there's a truck going in reverse, and that's a beeping sound you hear. Sorry, I don't have like soundproof room. All right, I'm still 50 minutes behind. Oh my God. Thank you everybody for joining and sharing your thoughts. I guess I'm not seeing them, but somebody is. Gail is curious about those little books taken from Rick's house. How do you know they were little? Hi, Sandy says, thank you. Yeah, this is a sad topic, and I'm sorry if I come across wrong for like laughing about stuff, which I don't think this is a funny topic, but as I said before, my mom was voted class clown and class wit, and my just personality, even though I'm very introverted, is to act like a fool. Sorry. Hi, JMW. Do we still think all that was staged? The sticks, the bullet, etc. As I said before, I think the unspent round bullet fell out unbeknownst to the killer. Which, can you imagine if Rick was the killer and he like it ejected at some point and he did put it in his pocket, and then he gets home to pull it out and he's like, where is it? Anyway, do we think it was staged? I don't know. I need to know from an expert if these branches on the girls were truly resembling any kind of rune. You're going to have to show the jury what was on Abby and then show a rune that's very similar. If the defense can't do that, then good luck convincing the jury that it was specifically placed in to like resemble some kind of letter. The whole issue with the F in Libby's blood on the tree, I guess there's going to be, I'm almost certain I saw the prosecution is going to have a blood spatter expert, I believe, and also an Odinist expert. But if Gull denies the Odin theory, then obviously that person won't show up. KT recovers, thank you. I don't know who got it. I can't see. I'm so far behind. All right. Actually, I just saw those are nice people, not trolls. What? Oh my gosh. Tom's phone is pinging. Sorry. Lisa, that is what I said. Something like I'm on a live chat with 450 people watching. That was it. I can't reveal who was calling me, but it's somebody most of you know. Uh-oh. No, not that person. Nope, not that one either. So when you talk about straw man arguments, Justin says, thank you for being our Siri today. A straw man is an argument that diverts away from the topic at hand. All right, thank you. Hi, Triple Crown. Does anyone know if the wife is standing by Richard Allen? She and his mother have shown up to almost every hearing. She did go see him in late May 2023. I think maybe one other time she saw him in person in prison. Although I think she was supposed to go see him in Westville in December 2023, and then he unexpectedly got moved to Wabash prison. I mean, even if I don't know, it seems like she thinks he's innocent, and I don't blame them for wanting to show up at the trial to hear evidence that the police have against their husband and son. Anne is looking forward to see how Rick is dressed, and likely he's been clean shaven. Don't know about hairstyle. Yeah, so are they going to bring him in his jail cell, his yellow uniform, or is he going to be wearing a suit? People have speculated that they have not had, the defense has purposely had Rick show up to his prior hearings in the prison uniform and not a suit to try and get the public to feel bad that he looks like he doesn't have his stuff together compared to like Brian Koberger. He doesn't have his stuff together even in a suit. Anyway. Nevada Tan. Yeah, so I don't remember which filing this was. They gave Rick the option of changing his clothes when they took that pic, which had like stains on his shirt, which I usually do to Taco Bell. But Rick refused. That's a good point. They said that Rick had been in the recreation yard before the defense team met with him in early April 2023. I guess for the motion to modify the safekeeping order to get Rick out of prison and into Cass County Jail. However, Rick had more clean clothes and shirts in his jail cell between the rec time and meeting his defense team, and he chose not to change that shirt, which I don't know, maybe the defense wanted him to look as messy as possible, like he wasn't in good shape. X Tina says, if somebody asked me to describe my next door neighbor's cars that I see every day, I probably wouldn't be able to. Eyewitnesses put the car there. That's what's important. Model is irrelevant. I agree that a 1965 Comet does not match Rick's car. However, I could see like a purple PT Cruiser if somebody's just looking fairly quickly as they're driving. I think on Hoosier Heartland Highway is that witness at 210, and maybe the black, or I don't know if he said black, the 228 driver on 300 said it was a smart car. And I've shown pictures before of a drone shot of the CPS parking lot and CPS building. And I'm sure most of you guys have seen it. Like there is this little space. I don't want to say it's like a parking space, which to me, I don't know why somebody would be backing their car up and risk running over something and popping their tires. But right to the right of that is like some dead bushes and stuff that are dark. So I don't know exactly how high that's up, but if Rick pulled back in, how much of the back of his car could have been hidden for like to see what kind of car it was. But the 214 driver, witness 4, who saw a bridge guy on the platform, I think she said it had sharp angles, which Rick's car does not have. So stay tuned. Her witness 4's testimony should be very interesting. We're at 2 hours and 29 minutes. We're going exactly 30 more minutes. Do we have to? Hi, Frosty. That was a half hour ago. Hi, Marge. I think he saved all that stuff because it was like a souvenir. Well, we don't know exactly what he had in his house that related to the crime scene. I think the defense said nothing match the crime scene. However, why are they trying to get everything hidden at the trial? Hi, Janine. If Rick came back home muddy and bloody, was he alone in the house? There's been this issue, like a rumor, was Rick's wife at her mom's house maybe? Because the mom was upset about the recent death of her son and Rick's brother-in-law. I guess that remains to be seen. Like, was Rick home alone? Rick's wife works at a local, I think it's in Delphi. I looked online for the address in my free time. And I believe Rick's wife's work is about 10 minutes from her home. I also think I may have looked up when that veterinarian closes, and I think it was 6 p.m. So if Rick truly was bridge guy and got home around 4:15-ish, then he had time to clean up if his wife was truly coming home around 6:10. Emerald City, when Tom rewatches this, which I usually try not to, he's going to think it'd be nice if they paid attention instead of talking about ice cream. Uh-oh. And Taco Bell. Hi, missing people. Yeah, today, I think I said before, Taco Bell has a $5 for 5 tacos. You have to buy through the app. Hi, Amy. There was a rumor that there was another group of girls that claimed to be on the trail that day. From what I've seen, there's this other park called City Park, which is about, like, if you're looking at a map of Delphi and Tom trying to do this backwards, I don't know. Like, if you're looking at Freedom Bridge, it's like over west to the left over there. It's about 10 minutes from the start of the trail. So from what I've seen of screenshots, there was a girl, I don't want to say her name. She said they only went to City Park to play basketball. So I've never seen about a group of 3 girls around noon. And I've said, if there was not a group of 3 girls around noon, Rick is screwed. I've said that phrase like 5 times already. Kay wants to know, what's the most important piece of evidence? I'm sorry, the most important evidence. It remains to be seen. If Abby and Libby's DNA was found in Rick's car, then that's about as important as it can get. From what we saw in the return of the items from October 13th, 2022, police took samples of 5 parts of Rick's car. So was some of it for fibers? Because in the Ron Logan search warrant, it said there was unidentified and maybe unknown fibers and hairs found at the crime scene. And people have wondered, was it animal hair that was just in the woods, or somebody's like cat or dog hair that fell off of Bridge Guy? So we'll see. I would say that finding that Abby and Libby's DNA in Rick's car is huge. Videos or photo that Rick maybe took, if he was involved and was somehow in his shed or something. I think we're going to be surprised at this trial. With what? I don't know. Yeah, this is a good point, Xtina. Xtina makes a lot of good points. One of them was that she said, if law enforcement has, or obviously they took possession of Rick's car October 13th, did they drive it by Hoosier Harvest Store to compare to the day of the murders video? If there's no difference between, if they did do that, and there's no difference between those 2 cars, then obviously that's not good for Rick. If there is a difference, that's not good for law enforcement. Xtina's latest nugget: if I was on the trails that day, I would tell anyone who would listen. Why did Richard Allen keep it a secret? Well, I don't know, but I don't know if it was a secret, because somebody, JC's Bar was the local place where you've probably seen pictures or videos of Rick playing pool with his wife. And I think within a few days of the murders, somebody on Facebook, a friend, posted and saying, it was like a picture of Bridge Guy. and the friend said something like, he came forward and it's not him, something like that. So people assumed, I guess, that Rick told this friend, I was there, I told police, and they felt like I was not involved. However, if you work at CVS, like, aren't you telling all your friends, like, the next day, those girls were missing? I was there noon to 1:30. I didn't see them. Like, I want to know how many people at CVS was Rick saying I was on the trails that day. Wouldn't you tell like all of your friends, coworkers, family that you are scared and freaked out that you were on this small trail around the same time two girls were murdered? I don't know. I have heard some rumors that Rick may have even brought up the murders or the status of the case to local law enforcement. However, I don't think he said at that time, oh, yeah, I was the guy parked at CPS. Stay tuned to see if any law enforcement gets on the stand at the trial to say if they did talk to Rick about the case at CVS where he worked. Because the Carroll County Sheriff is only 1 block from CVS. Chuckleberry says, simply Rick did not know the name of the building as CPS, why he did not come forward. However, in my latest video, the case against Richard Allen, guilty versus innocent, as I just said, like, wouldn't you, after April 2019, there's this huge press conference. The head of the Indiana State Police said, we're looking for the driver of a car parked at CPS, which then he said something like abandoned on 300 east of something, I don't know, which was confusing. He also said February 14th, which was the wrong day. However, don't you think after that April 2019 press conference, like I said, people at CVS are talking about this. Like, if Rick was like talking to his wife about the case, wouldn't they say like they're looking for the driver of a car? Well, if Rick did not know what CPS was called, wouldn't he say to somebody, where's CPS? Rick said he parked next to an old building, which he knows is next to Hoosier Heartland Highway, which is what Doug Carter said. So I don't know. I obviously have various opinions about why Rick should or should not have come forward after April 2019 press conference. Caricature contest. Doug Carter has been quiet. He recently gave an interview about these student protests at colleges in Indiana. Justin's question is, who goes to the conservation officer instead of directly going to the police? We're going to have to wait for the trial to hopefully find out how this mess unfolded about this whole interview at the grocery store. The defense said Rick called police to help. So I've said previously, whoever took that first phone call, if he truly did do that, did they write down this man's name, Richard Allen, said he was on the trail at what time, to even have somebody from the police say, okay, go to this grocery store, there should be a conservation officer there. So I'm very interested to know if there's a piece of paper with a first timeline according to Rick's first phone call to police. The conservation officer issue is, I've seen local TV reports around the time of the murders, and I'm almost certain one of the reporters said within the first few days and weeks, there were up to 200 police officers from 45 different agencies trying to help out. So I understand, like, maybe a conservation officer was at this grocery store trying to meet certain people, but I mean, you would think if somebody said I was there at the time of the murders, like, okay, talk to Tony Liggett. What is going to be revealed about Tony Liggett's actions in following up on Rick Allen? I have the worst facial expressions. How much more time? Exactly 20 minutes, and I'm 40 minutes behind. All right, let me scroll. Scrolling. Nevada Tan, I'm not fully confident there will be a conviction. Neither am I. Like, how are they going to convince or McClellan going to convince 12 people beyond a reasonable doubt that Richard Allen was at least bridge guy? The way the case has been handled was too messy. I agree. Like, yeah, the defense is going to have a lot of ammunition to say that law enforcement is incompetent. Excuse me. Also, why were they looking into Ron Logan? However, they did look into Ron Logan and said he's not involved. We'll see. Stay tuned. I just hope like a juror does not like ruin this case or somebody else. I'm hoping that there is enough, if Rick is guilty, there is enough data to show beyond a reasonable doubt that he was guilty and the correct decision and verdict is achieved. And if he's innocent, he deserves to be found innocent. Hi, quietly concerned. I've never heard this name, your screen name or this person. Kirk Bloodsworth maintained his innocence for 9 years and he was on death row. He was eventually set free due to DNA evidence. He told everyone it was not him. Yeah, somebody made me aware of like another Indiana case where I think it was a police officer was charged, or he went to trial 3 different times for killing, I think, his wife and children. And I think he was found guilty twice. And it came out that the prosecutor and law enforcement were totally corrupt. So I do think that, I mean, it opened my eyes a little bit to shady shiz going down in the city by law enforcement and prosecutors. But there are just certain things about this case, about Richard Allen and his timeline that do not add up to me that I don't want to say I need answers, but the jury is going to need answers. Caricature contest says Rick seems to be a loner. Nobody has come out to defend him except the court appointed ones. I agree. I mean, who knows how many friends he had. He did go to that JC's bar, but nobody's been able to find any social media for Rick, which I said previously, he's guilty of something if you don't have social media. That's a good joke. I'm alive. These chats are so awkward. Anyway, I'm still doing them. What's this question? Does anybody know why the until tomorrow's text went gray? Oh, there's I think a 15-second or 20-second delay before you can submit another comment. Kay says, we have no proof that the Odinist guards told Rick to confess to his wife. No proof any of that's true at all. Defense is paid to lie. Well, it's going to be interesting to see Rick's cell, as I've said previously, it's under surveillance, video surveillance, 24 hours a day. There is no audio. However, obviously, it can be synced up to his phone calls. April 3rd seems to be like one of the biggest dates in this case, where the prosecution says the defendant called his wife and possibly his mother and admitted several times that he killed the victims. So is the video going to show, like, is it going to be before or after he met with the defense intern and investigator? I don't know. Like, what happens as soon as he gets in his cell? Is he looking at papers that he just got? How long after the guards walk away does he pick up his tablet and initiate this phone call to his wife and say, I was involved in this horrible double murder of children? Hi, boats and hoes. Oh. Yeah, like when is Gull gonna, like, she is like, I don't know. Yes, I do know. She's like takes way too long to issue a ruling on some of these motions by both the defense and the prosecution. Although she approved one of Sorry, McClelland's like the same day, the other day. I forget what it was for. I don't know. Forget. Some kind of data, maybe. KT, Auntie Gull won't try for a fourth time to roll a gutter ball for a spot on the Indiana Supreme Court. She lied from the bench. She won't be voted in again. Oh, well. Hi, Wendy. Thank you. Now I want to eat Wendy's and have a Frosty. Oh my gosh. Big fish, small pond. I don't know what you're talking about here. Should be cake for them to prove the right. I guess you're talking about some to another user. But why the prosecution trying to throw out location info? Yeah, I don't know. McClelland said something like he did not want geofence to be confused to the jury. I wasn't sure what he was saying. Like it seemed like he did not want his own witness to be able to testify about certain things, which seems suspicious. 13 more minutes. My mom calls me a fool. Hi, Cecil Hotel. Quietly concerned, this case will be talked about for many years to come. 7 years to come to, 7 years to go to trial, and tried in 2 weeks with only a few people as witness it. Justice Indiana style. If it turns out that Rick is guilty, like just the fact that law enforcement did not follow up, oh my gosh, like horrible. Horrible. KT recovers. Michael Osbrook is in the chat. He'd be an interesting person to interview, in my opinion. I think he's I know he's been referenced in a few defense filings about certain like procedures that were not followed by, I guess, Gull and the prosecution. I think he said something nice about me on Twitter while other people were saying horrible things about my video. How did Richard Allen not see the four girls and bridge guy? Which I don't know. It seems like people who say Rick is 100% innocent, they ignore these kind of major issues and questions that need to be answered about where Rick was and how he was on the trail between 12:30 and 1:30 at the same time as these four girls, and they never saw each other. Thank you, KT. Lala says Rick's daughter has always been a no-show. I think she moved like an hour and a half away. No, I don't know exactly where she lives. I have not deep dived that, and I'm not saying where she lives. However, I have said previously, like if this was your dad and you have a different last name through marriage, would you really want like your coworkers and new friends to be like, I saw you on TV entering the court. Your dad murdered those two girls or something, or is on trial for that? So I don't blame the daughter for not showing up to these hearings before. Maybe she will show up to the trial. I don't think we should be assuming anything about her not going to the previous hearings. Chuckleberry Finn actually agrees with me on something, but I don't know anything about anything, including how trials and stuff work. But I really feel like all these Frank's memo requests are so far outside the purpose of what a Frank's is supposed to be. And essentially, I've said previously, like they're supposed to trying to get Judge Gull to have a hearing, and it's like 136 pages and 126 exhibits. It's no, that's no wonder why she doesn't like them. Seriously, if you were a judge and you've previously gotten Frank's hearing requests, I don't know, are they usually like 5 to 10 pages with maybe two exhibits, and the defense submits something that's 1,500 pages? I'd kick their asses off the case too. Pretend like I didn't say that. Here we go. Hold on. Exactly 10 more minutes and I'm excused. Cecil Hotel, I see all these numbers in bold print. What do they mean? People who have been nice enough to become members on my channel, I added like these custom, not emojis, but I don't know what they're called. And they signify how many months somebody has been a member. So a few nice people have been a member over a year. So if it says 12, that means they've been a member over 12 months. Thank you, Xtina. Uh-oh. Some other people understand blue. Sorry if I'm forgetting people. I'm under pressure right now. Oh, my laugh is so annoying. 443 people. All right, that's good. 20 people left. Final 10 minutes. What are we going to talk about? I am only 19 minutes behind on comments. Only. Hi, Mandy. Mandy's been saying it in her head. Rick is screwed. Yeah, my recent video, the case against Richard Allen, I asked, like, if you, based on what you know today, how would you vote? I think I said guilty versus innocent, and somebody said, I think it was a granny. She said, no, it's not guilty versus innocent. The jury's going to vote either guilty or not guilty. However, okay, I do appreciate you correcting me, but either Rick is guilty or he's innocent. So some people, it seems to be somewhat mixed between guilty and innocent and a few guilty AFs, but I would say it's a little bit more towards guilty. I said if I had to vote today, I would vote innocent because I've not seen totally convincing evidence yet. However, I do believe at the trial there will be more evidence presented. Lala, can anyone confirm what witness 4 saw being an antique comet? An antique car? So witness 4 is the person who saw Bridge Guy around 153. Her car is then, she got there, her car is seen at 146, which the way, I guess she went to at Mears parking lot, made a left towards Highbridge. Essentially, well, I don't know. I've shown this before. Let me show it one more time. What am I doing? This is what the bridge looked like, or the end of the trail. So witness 4 walked here, and then you can't even see platform 1 is right here. So I've said before, like if you're a woman walking on this trail at whatever 1:50 p.m. and you turn around that and you get to that whatever post, and you see a guy on platform 1, I don't know how long you're staying there, how long are you staring at him. So then her car is seen leaving on the Hoosier Harbor Store camera at 2:14. It takes less than a minute to go to CPS. She said she remembered about this car she saw because it resembled a car her dad had that was a 1965 Comet. However, my issue is like law enforcement does not seem to believe her recollection. I don't know, was her vision clouded by a purple haze? No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying she did doobie, but I mean, one of my issues is that she said at like 2:15 ish, the car she saw was backed in an area where people usually do not park at CPS. But like another person 5 minutes before said they saw a car parked in that same spot and it was not from the 1960s. 14 minutes later or whatever, 13 at 2:28, somebody else saw a car, which I don't know, it's never been determined exactly where that person said the car was. But they said it was a smart car. I don't know if two people say they did not see a car from the 1960s and one person says they did, who are you going to believe? Also, she said she saw a bridge guy and he was 20 from 50 feet away. Like, I don't know how far around the post she went. 5 more minutes. But I've said not related to her, but if you're a juror and there's some eyewitnesses testifying and one person from 50 feet away says, I saw this, but 20 minutes before, 4 girls passed somebody within about 3 feet on this trail, which was even like more narrow down by Freedom Bridge. Who are you going to believe? Because it was not referenced in the PCA, but at least one of these girls talked to this guy, Bitterbeat Poet, on Reddit, or at least she talked through her mother and this guy. And according to her, the guy they passed was in his 40s to 50s. So I'm going to believe an eyewitness or 3 who said a man in his 40s to 50s passed them on his way to High Bridge, more so than just one person from 50 feet away. I don't know. It seems like she came forward in March 2019 and said she was frustrated that law enforcement never put out her recollection of the man she saw, which she said was 20, which seems to be the cause of that April 2019 press conference. Stay tuned for witness testimony, and I'm scrolling through. Final few comments. Michael Osbrick, sorry, your bullet narrative makes no sense to me, at least. What was my bullet narrative? That it popped out of the gun to intimidate the girls and then fell out of the pocket and was stepped on while he was moving bodies? How do you think it got there? Because to me, that makes more sense than a police officer having a random unspent round in his pocket and dropping it and not noticing it as they're moving or looking at the bodies and processing the crime scene. Hi, Simon. Yeah, I changed my background. But thanks for joining. I hate it. Hi, Azul. Thank you. Wampo, first time in Tom's life, he said, thanks, ex-Tina. Yeah, I'm not thanking Christina Aguilera, that troll. Mariah doesn't like her. Thank you, Emerald City. Yeah, thank you, everybody, for joining. I'm stopping in 2 minutes. So I guess next Saturday, I'm doing my member live chat, and Sunday, maybe doing another public live chat. I'll be summarizing whatever happens this week. And as always, I'll do this public live chat probably next Sunday, unless I have better things to do. Tammy, I'm doing 2 more comments real quick. Hi, Tammy. Does anyone know if Bridge Guy has a gold watch on his right wrist? That video is too blurry, and both of his hands seems to be inside his pocket. So I would say in his jeans pocket. So I don't think anybody can say either way. All right, one final comment in 1 minute. Somebody's doing surveillance. TE, I don't know what to say. How do I see the full chat history? In the top of the chat box, select live chat instead of just top chat. Uh-oh, trolls are here. Just delete anybody who's a a-hole. Final comment, what's it going to be? I don't know. I have less than a minute. I don't know. I'm just going to end it. I highlighted like 100 comments. Thank you for joining, everybody. I guess I'll see some of you next Sunday. Thank you to my moderators. Thank you to everybody who donated. I truly appreciate all of you. Thank you to my members. And hopefully this case is headed towards a correct verdict as soon as possible. Thank you. Bye. Happy Cinco de Mayo.